Testing. Okay, we're tested. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Cool Beans Hot Stuff. Today is Wildlife Wednesdays, which means first Wednesday of the month. Today is Cryptid Day. So I'm super stoked for this. I always like my cryptozoology. Love talking about Bigfoot and Loch Ness and all that stupid shit. It's not stupid. It's fun. It's fun. It's silly. I like talking about this stuff because it's entertaining. And hopefully you do too, because that's what we're going to be talking about for about the next 2 hours today. This is a continuation of my. God, I still don't know what the fuck I'm going to call it. Like, I think it's 50 States of Cryptids is what I'm going with. Doesn't really roll off the tongue. There's like no alliteration. I'm a fan of alliteration, and there's none in there whatsoever. But that's what I got. That's what we're sticking with. 50 States of Cryptids. And so what the plan is to go through each state alphabetically and spend a 2 hour stream every month, first Wednesday of the month, talking about the cryptids that are in that month's state, right? Until I get through all 50 states. And then by the time I get to the last state, y'all all have forgotten about the other states, so I'll just go back and repeat the process. No, probably not that, but I don't know, maybe, because, right now, small channel, not a lot of people watch these streams. I'm sure that they'll find their audience somewhere. There's plenty of people who like this cryptid stuff who are just as weird and goofy as I am. Yeah, so I just need to find those weird, goofy people like myself. But maybe by the time I get to the last 50 states, I'll have a bigger audience, and then maybe I can go back and redo some of those early streams because my audio was all fucked up during those early streams, too. My audio is sounding a lot better, though. I updated yet another audio driver today. I swear to God, I don't know how I have so many audio drivers in one fucking computer, but I do. And they all need updated. And so hopefully, slowly but surely, I'm getting rid of this annoying fucking crackle that's in like every stream I do. It ruins all my best jokes. And I don't have many of those, you know? I get like maybe 5 good moments in a stream where I say something funny, and then right in the middle of it, punchline, fucks my shit all up, man. I have nothing to clip then. So we're getting rid of that, hopefully, tiny bit by tiny bit. By the time I get to those last 50 streams, I damn well better have no crackles in this stream. I better be like fucking pristine. Want to talk about those last 50 states, I mean. So, anyways, yeah. Okay, I'm done bitching. So, yeah, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about Alaskan cryptids. That's the next state on our list today. Alabama was the first state last month, and Alaska is going to be the next state today. So, I've been reading about this for about the last 4 weeks or so, hopping in here or there, finding good cryptids, and Alaska's got some good cryptids. Alaska's got some really weird, goofy, and a couple kind of spooky animals that exists there, right? Or may exist there. Yeah. So we're going to go over those today after I burp. That was a big one. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into it then. If you're watching this on Twitch, thank you for watching. Cutie Pie, I did see you're watching. Thank you as always for your support. My number one fan, everybody, Cutie Pie. And good luck with your interview. Cutie Pie's got an interview coming up in an hour, and she's going to kill it. So I know that. So thank you for watching the stream while you're doing your makeup, though, hot stuff. And anybody else that sees this stream, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your support. I hope you enjoy the content, more importantly. If you're watching this on YouTube, same thing. I hope you enjoy the content. And if you do, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps the channel. If you watch this in my live stream section, I'm probably going to pull this down anyways, cut the beginning out, and then make it its own video, so it's not as long and you don't have like 20 minutes in the beginning that you have to skip over, you know. Oh yeah, I am live streaming on YouTube too. Only my second day of live streaming on YouTube. And so yeah, we're giving that a shot. Hopefully that becomes more of a real thing. I tried live streaming on X, and it was all kinds of fucky. Totally fucky. I don't know what exactly was going on there. X definitely needs to work on their streaming shit, but I'll figure it out by the end of the month. Anyways, hopefully we'll be streaming on X, YouTube, Twitch, and then I'm even going to pull in Kick and Discord there, even though I don't know what the fuck a Kick and a Discord even is. Beats me, right? So might as well be Loch Ness. I've never seen them. So we're going to go ahead and hopefully by the end of the month, I'm streaming on all 5 platforms, and that'll be fun. So anyways, Yeah, we're done talking about all that. You guys kind of get the gist of what we're talking about today. Hopefully, this is something you're interested in. If you clicked on the video, I'm assuming you are. So let's hop into it with our first cryptid of the day. I got a lot of cryptids. I don't know here. Let me pull down my thingy here. Look at that. Almost every one of those pages right there is a cryptid. So I got a lot of cryptids to go. I couldn't pick my favorite. There's so many. So much crazy shit probably lives in Alaska, right? I mean, you kind of got to figure nobody really goes up there a whole lot. So there's a lot of room for Bigfoot to stretch his big ass legs and just kind of do whatever the fuck he wants. So there's a lot of cryptids up there. I couldn't pick my 10 favorite. So I at least threw in a bunch of honorable mentions towards the end of the stream that we can get into, but I do want to get into them. So let's go ahead and hop into it. The first one is going to be one of the more famous ones, right? That's kind of how I have these streams structured. We're going to go over the big ones, the most famous, the obvious, the ones that a lot of people, if you've lived in Alaska, you probably heard about, sort of thing, right? Yeah. So the first one is going to be the Iliamna Lake Monster. Lake Iliamna's Monster is what it's called, right? Alaska's Lake Iliamna Monster. Okay, and I don't know if I entirely got that right. We have a few cryptids in here that are from Alaskan, native Alaskan folklore. And so I'm going to have a real fun time trying to say those. I already got my handy dandy, not game controller, my handy dandy pronunciation thingy-majigger over here to help me out with that so I don't look like a total ass. But I'm pretty sure I got that one right. Iliamna Lake Monster. To truly understand the potential of the Lake Iliamna's monster's existence, we must first explore the lake itself. Nestled in a remote ecosystem on the northern coast of the Alaska Peninsula, Lake Iliamna stretches approximately 77 miles long and 22 miles wide, reaching measured depths of over 1,000 feet. So it's a big one. It's right here. Here's a close up. Looks just about like any other lake I've ever seen, to be perfectly honest, in Google Maps. It is the largest freshwater lake in Alaska, so it is big. Fed by the Vichok River and connected to Bristol Bay and the Bering Sea, the lake is a thriving habitat for various fish and fauna. Access to the lake is almost exclusively reliant on air travel, potentially explaining why reported sightings weren't gaining much attention until the 1940s when pilots began spotting something in the waters below. Cough. This unique combination of the remote location, dimensions, and ecological connection fuels speculation about what could reside in the unexplored depths of Iliamna. Possibly some type of Iliamna lake monster. Well, one can hope, right? Yeah. So, sightings and modern descriptions. Let's get into the descriptions. We're going to hit the sightings. I got this whole handy dandy little timeline popped up on another page. We'll hit that in a second. But we wanted to look at what it supposedly, well, what it looks like. Yeah. So the creature's likeness has been somewhat varied, influenced by cultural folklore, individual perspectives, or simply the inevitable passage of time. The modern consensus describes our cryptid as a large, serpent like creature approximately 30 feet in length with visible fins, a large head, and smooth metallic colored skin. So it's a big boy. A big boy. And classic serpent, slippery, slimy, big ass giant snake. Think like that. Accounts of the head have been said to be wolf like or shark like, and it is often noted that the cryptid has the capability to dive and stay submerged without surfacing for prolonged periods of time. Information about sightings wasn't well circulated until after aviation made its way as the predominant form of travel into the region. So, Alaskan Sportsman Lodge made this handy dandy timeline. We're going to hit that up, but we're going to keep on the looks for a second. I tried to find the best picture I could. I tried, all right? I worked hard for you guys, and it just didn't work out. I tried hard to figure out, find a decent picture of what it might look like. And the reports are so varied that we just get a whole clusterfuck of shit, right? So we even got a Pokemon card here in the midst. So there's your Pokemon version of the Iliamna Lake Monster. This one looks pretty cool, like something like that, like a really long, not plesiosaur. What is that? Lioplorodon is the dinosaur. Don't ask me how I know. I play way too many dinosaur games. And then there's this goofy son of a bitch right here. I can't tell if this is goofy because it was made by a really bad digital artist or if that head just does not stick with that body and that's what makes it so fucking goofy. Even the History Channel over here has their own goofy rendition. It's these big ass gills, I think, what makes him goofy. Either way, this dude is not a fashion expert, right? He needs a gay friend to show him how to dress. And some people were thinking, well, we'll get into this in a little bit, a sleeper shark. There's a lot of, well, I guess we don't have to get into it a little bit. We can get into it right now. What are we doing? I control this stream. I say what we get into. Theories and cryptozoological speculation. Let's get into that. With the lake's connection to Bristol Bay and the Bering Sea, theories have emerged as to the possibility of various aquatic life forms making their way into the lake, and sightings of which have been the subject of legend. The History Channel show Missing in Alaska covers the story of a missing kayaker who some believe met his fate by the hand or fin of the storied lake monster. How crazy would that be to have a lake monster with like human hands? That'd be creepy as shit, right? Just like a giant shark with human hands. Like it's so out of place and weird and goofy. It would freak you out. It'd be kind of freaky. Why? What would he need those hands for? It's not like he has to wipe his ass, right? Pick his nose? I don't know. Spooky. In the episode, they sit down in Anchorage with marine biologist John Parlier. Parlier. I'm sure that's pronounced like Parlier. I'm going to say Parlier. It makes him sound more distinguished. Who shares his thoughts on the legend of the Iliamna lake monster. The most exciting possibility would be a plesiosaur. Let's click on this link so y'all know what a plesiosaur looks like. Because I can envision it because I play all them dinosaur games. But, you know, if you're not a dinosaur fanatic like me, you probably are like, what the fuck is a plesiosaur? Not your average puppy. That's what it is. It's this guy right here. Your basic Loch Ness is a plesiosaur, right? Your basic Loch Ness, you know, everybody knows this. It's big ass giant, flippers, long neck, little angry head, kind of cute, kind of full of teeth, and a big long tail. Basic plesiosaur right there. That is known by the fossil records to have died about 70 million years ago. They are reptiles, which means they were air breathers. They would need to surface to breathe, and I think a creature of that size having to surface on a regular basis would still be much more visible. I mean, I think reptiles are cold blooded too. I don't know how realistic it would be to have a reptile that fucking big living in Alaska, right? I feel like it would freeze to death, but I don't know. You never know. Could our monster be a surviving remnant of a prehistoric animal that has since adapted to survive in a sea like environment of the lake? This question keeps the attention of cryptozoologist enthusiasts alike. Yeah, everybody wants it to be a plesiosaur for some reason. I want it to be something completely different, even if it's this goofy ass little shark bro right here. Look at this dude. Look at that poor guy. That would be much cooler. As goofy as he is, that would be way cooler. So I'm going with I want goofy shark guy. When asked about other theories, Mr. Partier replied, "Other potential organisms are the beluga whale." So let's look up beluga whales. So I'm pretty sure y'all know what a beluga whale probably looks like. I think it's a white one. Yeah, it's the white one, super cute, like a dolphin, right? Super adorable looking. That would be cool too. If it was like a super cute beluga whale swimming around in that bitch, that'd be tight. Problems with those, they're very surface orientated. A new theory is the oarfish. I know I've seen a picture of an oarfish, but let's just look it up again just to make sure. Oarfish. I think these are long, skinny dudes, right? Yeah, super long, super skinny dudes. There you go. That's a really good picture of an oarfish. It'd have to be a really big oarfish, though. Yeah, like to hit 30 feet and be seen from a plane, we're talking giant oarfish. Oh, there is a giant oarfish right there. Look at that. That would scare the fuck out of you. Now you're just like swimming, skinny dipping in Alaska as you do, and you know, and that motherfucker comes up and just pokes his head out of the water. You'd shit your pants. That water would be brown colored from there to the shoreline. So, oarfish, third theory, plesiosaur. What was the second one? Beluga whale, super cute beluga whale, or a super long oarfish. Problem being for them to enter fresh water would mean an incredible change in their physiology, which they cannot do. So, oarfish, they're saltwater only. They would die in the time it would take them to enter the lake, according to Mr. What was his name? Pollier. Oarfish have been notoriously rare to spot. The first to be observed live was not until 2001. Stated to have a worldwide range, and with reports that they are capable of reaching 56 feet and nearly 600 pounds in weight, could an oarfish be our elusive Iliamna lake monster? I think they did say it was 30 feet, so they can get up to 56 feet. That is pretty crazy. In the interview, Parlier states, "The fish I am most interested in is this white sturgeon. They are native to all of the Pacific coast. These have been known to reach well over 1,000 pounds. And you know, these are very migratory fish. They like to investigate new habits, as it were." So let's look that up. White sturgeon. I've seen a sturgeon. Yeah. So and that is a white sturgeon. Woo, look at this bad boy. Yeah, sturgeon get really, really big. Okay, so I got a story time. Story time. So when oh, wrong screen for story time. Okay, there's the right screen for story time. Hello. So when I was a kid, my parents took me on a like short summer vacation. I think somewhere in Wisconsin. I want to say, not Michigan, Wisconsin or oh Missouri maybe. I always forget what the difference between the two is. Like I get them mixed up all the time, and I'm not entirely sure why. But Wisconsin and Missouri interchangeable to me for some reason. Anyways, we went on a vacation in either Missouri or Wisconsin, and we did water skiing on the lake, right? You know, they pull you behind the boat and you stand up for 5 minutes, think, wow, I'm dope. And then you fall and eat shit. And, you know, then you're reminded how much you suck at these kinds of things. So just going through one of those things, constantly, you know, getting up to speed, falling over and doing that over and over again. And one of these times I had gone pretty good and the boat got really fast and I ate shit, you know, and I'm sitting there floating in the water with skis attached to my feet and looking like a dumbass. And the boat really zipped ahead because it was going at, you know, a good click or whatever they call that. It was going fast. And they must not have spotted that I was gone for some time. They had to circle back. I see it out in the distance, this tiny little boat, little toy boat circling out in the distance, come back and get me. And I'm sitting in the middle of this big ass giant lake by myself, right? And my cutie pie can tell you, I don't like water. Okay, because I was born in Wyoming. We barely have any fucking water in Wyoming, right? Look, throw me in a tent in the fucking mountains with the grizzly bears all day long and I'll be fine. I'll be good. I'm not saying like I'm gonna like live out there and be like all fucking peachy keen, build a log cabin and shit. I'm not like Mr. fucking Lumberjack over here, right? Yeah, you know, I'm not Mr. Mountain Man. But I've gone out and hunted on mountains before, out in blizzards, you know, I've gone out and camped plenty of times out in the Wyoming wilderness and I'm used to it. It's okay. It's chill. It's fine. You know, a lot of bugs, but it's chill. It's fine. I can make it work and I can have a good time doing it and I can survive for the most part, right? Obviously, I am still here. Okay, but I don't do water. Okay, a huge part of my reason for being alive right now is I stay the fuck out of the water where there's giant ass things that can eat you and you can't see them. You can't see them. You know, a grizzly bear, I can see it. It's over there. So you don't walk over there where the fucking grizzly bear is. It's pretty simple. Survival is about that simple on land. You see a big ass thing with big ass teeth, you don't go near it. It's that simple. You know, it's hard to fuck that up, really. A lot of people still do, but, you know, that's their problem. Simple to me, right? One, two, three. Easy as one, two, three. It's easy as one, two, three. Dang it, cutie pie. I'm like singing songs now because I'm developing the same habit as you. Every time somebody says something from a song, I have to sing the song. All right. But yeah, it's that easy, right? But in the water, you can't see this shit. So I'm out there floating in this big giant fucking lake and I can't see shit around me. It's all like murky and shit, you know? I mean, I've seen that movie Jaws way too many times. And yeah, I know it wasn't in like a fucking, you know, it's in the ocean, okay? But this might as well be an ocean. It's a giant body of water. I'm from Wyoming, all right? The bathtub is practically a fucking ocean to me, okay? And I'm sitting in this water and sure as shit, I look over and some giant thing goes like creates a wave. It swims up to the surface and back down again. And I don't really even see like skin or nothing. I just see this movement under the water that's so fucking big. It creates a wave that like hits me in the face. And I took those skis off and I started swimming ashore. I didn't wait for no fucking boat. I'm like, oh, oh take that, fuck your skis and doggy paddle my ass back to the shore and stayed in the boat the rest of the time. The entire time I was in Missouri, Wisconsin, wherever, I stayed in the boat or on land, one or the other, where there's no giant creepy things that might be in the water, right? And anyways, talking to the boat driver, he thought it was funny. He was hilarious. He's like, oh, you almost got eaten, you know, because it's always funny when it's somebody else who's about to get eaten alive. And he said, oh, it was probably a sturgeon because we have massive sturgeon in this lake. Big motherfuckers. Look at this. Why would you swim near that willingly? Look at that son of a bitch. Now, I am aware this is in Montana. I am aware that sturgeon don't eat people, right? But that means nothing to me. That thing is still fucking terrifying, right? Swimming around in the water with you, like, no, I'm good, bro. I don't need that shit in my life. Life is way too stressful to have giant ass fish like this, you know, And everybody's like, oh no, they're really sweet. I don't give a fuck how sweet they are, bro. They can be sweet as pie. I ain't fucking getting in the water with them, right? So that's my freaky story of sturgeon. Oh, you're on the wrong screen for that. Yeah, take a look at these sturgeon. These things are fucking huge. Look at that. Look at that beast, right? You know, that one's a little guy. That's like a baby sturgeon. That's a little midget sturgeon right there. But look at this. Look at that. And that's a skinny little guy. Where's the really this one? Look at that. Fuck that. You know, I don't need to be in the water with something like that. Look at this. Look at that. That eats poor little Tony. Poor little Tony. Poor little 12-year-old Tony just chilling in the river by himself, not fucking with nobody. And this son of a bitch flies up to you, comes up. I don't care if he was coming up to say hi. Hey, what's your name? I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, I don't need nothing that big in the water with me, right? So, anyways, could be a white sturgeon because they get big, supposedly. So, reach over 1,000 pounds. So while white sturgeon do offer an intriguing explanation, it remains unconfirmed that they reside in this lake. Seals may be held responsible for some of these sightings, as Lake Iliamna is one of 5 known locations of freshwater harbor seals. Well, that's also an equally cute option right there. Look at those eyes. Look at those droopy ass little whiskers. They're so cute. I have heard these guys will bite the fuck out of you though. So, you know, you don't want to go petting a seal anytime soon. But God, they're so adorable. You ever see those YouTube videos with the little baby seals where they go grab them and take the net off their necks and shit? And it's like, oh, fuck, I really want one if they stay tiny. Parlier mentions there have been times when seals will pod up and be on the surface in a large group, and that's been one case where a man thought for sure he saw a sea monster moving away from his boat. The way they were moving, it looked like a serpent in the surface. Ah. It has been confirmed in recent years that these harbor seals reside within the region of the lake year round. Perhaps from the perspective of a small boat, these pod ripples startle onlookers and fuel imagination. So yeah, there you go. Mr. Chamberlain, what did he say? Mr. Chamberlain, who says he was on the north end of the lake kayaking when he noticed ripples in the water moving towards his left side. As it approached closer, his boat was suddenly rammed with force. Ooh, see, that's terrifying. Fuck that shit. I don't give a shit if it's the cutest little seal you've ever known. You be ramming my boat in the water like no. He lowered his paddle into the water to steady himself, but when he did, he felt a jerk on it. Oh, bro, no ski. And when the paddle was pulled from the water, there was a large piece missing. Fuck that. Yeah. It appeared as if a bite was taken from it. Yeah, fuck that shit. Motherfucker eats your paddles. Like, it's definitely eating you. The amount of teeth it would take to bite through a paddle, I guess I've never held a kayaking paddle, but I'm assuming it's harder than human flesh, yeah? If this story is proven true, white sturgeon can be ruled out as the possible culprits, as they do not have teeth. Okay, well, I mean, that makes me feel a little bit better. Not entirely. You know, they're still terrifying, god awful things. But yeah, they don't have teeth. So I guess that's a plus for us. Another intriguing possibility lies within the stories from the Tlingit legend of the sea wolf. Even more intriguing is the stories have a real world counterpart, the coastal gray wolf. These wolves can range from southern Alaska all the way to South Vancouver Island and have adapted to live predominantly on seafood. They can swim for miles offshore and have been spotted as far as 7 miles from land. Wow, that's interesting. So they could just a plain ass actually have been a wolf. Huh. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, so anyways, there's your basic culprits, right, for what the Iliamna lake monster can be. We got white sturgeon, we got sea wolf, which I didn't know was a thing. Cute ass little beluga, sea lions. Was it sea lions or seals? There's a difference, I'm sure. Seals. It was seals. Okay, seals, and then plesiosaur, oarfish, big ass, long, skinny little oarfish, right? So there's your possible contenders for things that it could be, assuming that it's not its own thing, right? Because it could just be its own thing. I did want to read this story. This is kind of cool. The Ghana Cadet. The Ghana Cadet. The legend and tales. So, as is with a lot of the cryptids in Alaska, what kind of makes them so fucking cool is they existed way before anybody had, well, like the internet or anything like that, obviously. But even way back with a lot of the native Alaskan tribes, they had stories about these monsters, right? So people come to Alaska, they get there, they set up shop, and they see this monster in this lake, and they're like, there's a fucking monster in that lake. And the Native Americans who have been there for hundreds of years are like, yeah, bro, we know it's been there. And so that's really cool. You get two different cultures of people who are like, oh yeah, there's something fucked up in that lake. So here's the actual story of the Gona Cadet from the boop doop 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 before there was a Gonga Cadet. The Tlingit, the Tlingit people are often cited as being the earliest mention of this creature, and several versions of the legend exist, as it has a long and varied oral history. The following is a condensed version of the story, which is kind of crazy because it is still kind of a long story. We're going to read it though. This is the Tlingit, the Tlingit people's, the native people's story about the Gona Cadet. Oof, this is going to be a brutal stream. The Gona Cadet, or otherwise known as the Lake Iliamna monster. Okay, so this is their version of it. A man married a high caste girl from another town. He had a bad reputation as a gambler, and this didn't sit well with his new mother in law. She often harped on him about how little she thought of him. So, your typical mother in law, yeah. To keep the peace, he built their hut at the back of the village near the lake. He had heard of a monster living in the lake and thought of proving himself by defeating the beast, so he built a trap to catch it. With the use of a deadfall trap, he killed the monster and doned its skin. Much to his surprise, by wearing its skin, he was now able to swim about in the water as if he himself were a fish. He told his wife of his adventures and asked that she keep it secret, especially from her mother. That's crazy. That went from 0 to 100 right off the back. Bro is wearing monster skins. What would make you think to wear the monster skin? Yeah, and then go take a swim. I don't know. But hey, this guy thought of it, and apparently it worked, yeah? I mean, it's kind of like the first guy who discovered you can eat this mushroom and not die, right? Some point, somebody had to have been like, well, this thing is weird and squishy and gross, but fuck it, I'm going to eat it. And found out, oh, it's pretty good, not bad, right? So I guess first time for everything, you need crazy people to try shit, right? One day, famine struck their village. This is the story again. He revealed to his wife the gifts the skin could provide, but that its power required he must always be home before the raven's call. If he hadn't returned by the call of the raven, it would most certainly mean his death. That evening, he caught a salmon and placed it out front of his mother-in-law's home for her to find the following morning. As was custom during a famine, the bounty was shared with the village, but when she found it, she claimed all the credit for having secured the fish, his mother-in-law. So she's taking all the credit for fishing, getting the big salmon, this bitch. She then predicted that the following day there would be 2 halibut. This went on, and predictions and offerings escalated. The man would sleep during the day, tired from his evenings of donning the skin and hunting to fulfill her prophecy and provide for the village. The tired husband was berated by the mother-in-law, who had said,
Imagine me sleeping all day when there is a famine. If it weren't for me going around picking up dead fish, the whole village would starve.
With the prediction, it probably sounded just like that, I swear. With the predictions fulfilled daily, the mother-in-law requested to be honored as the village shaman. This was granted as they had all bore witness to her abundance. She continued to bring shame on the husband, calling him things like lazy and the sleeping man. The man and his wife simply laughed at her arrogance. The predictions reached their greatest height when the mother, now shaman, predicted 2 whales the following morning. The husband shared with his wife, perhaps fearing the evening's challenge. If I am found dead in this skin, put me along with the skin in the place where I used to hide it, and you will get help. One morning, the wife heard the call of the raven, but her husband had yet to come home. Uh-oh. She began to cry, alerting the other villagers who followed her cries to the shore. The mother-in-law now stood, along with the rest of the village, by the water to see 2 whales and a monster lying dead between them on the beach. The daughter's cries over the monster's body confused the people until she requested help opening the mouth of the creature. Shocked to see the face of her husband within its mouth, all assumed he must have been killed by that monster. As her husband requested, and aided by the villagers, his body was laid to rest in the skin's hiding spot. While her husband's final request was being carried out, the villagers saw the very large trap and tools used to kill the lake monster. It was then they finally learned the truth. Word spread, and all went to see for themselves that the sleeping man was not a lazy husband, but a savior who kept them all from starvation. All the villagers came to pay their respects to the fallen man. That is all but the mother-in-law, who is said to have died of shame. Ooh, that sounds like a painful death. From there forward, it was referred to as Gona Cadet. Every night, the wife would visit and mourn him. He was referred to, as Gona Cadet. Every night, the wife would visit and mourn him, until one night, when out by the tree, she saw a ripple in the water and heard her husband's voice call, "Get on my back and hold tight." She grabbed on and began her new life beneath the water. It is believed that Gonakadet's children grow to be the daughters of the creek. They are said to stand at the head of every stream and bring luck to those that see them. This is why many believe seeing their father, Gonakadet, must also bring luck. While many choose to believe a wild sighting of the monster brings luck, there are other iterations of the story that see the man punished for donning the skin of the creature. He was banished to become the very thing he hunted, the creature itself. With the head of a wolf and the body of a whale, the sea wolf legend Gonakadet came to be. So there's a couple different iterations of the Native Alaskan legend. Super cool, yeah. This is interesting. In 1980, the Anchorage Daily News once offered a $100,000 reward to anyone who could come forward and present clear evidence of the creature. This enticed the public, however, the reward was never collected. This allure of the unknown beneath Lake Iliamna's surface continues to attract researchers, cryptozoologists, and curious adventurers alike. Though concrete evidence may be scarce, the complexities of Alaska and the ecosystems within it leave much room for discovery. So, yeah, that is kind of the fun about having the Cryptozoology in Alaska Day. It's not going to be like cryptozoology and, well, I don't know, I guess there isn't really any one individual state. Cryptozoology in Rhode Island, right? Such a teeny tiny little bleep of a fucking piece of land, cities in it and everything. It's going to be a little bit tougher, not impossible, but tougher to find a whole bunch of crazy cryptids, right? Coming out of that state. We'll get to that state eventually, though, and we'll see if I'm wrong, because I definitely could be. But Alaska, it's like fertile ground for this kind of shit, right? So here's the timeline of sightings, just to go over some of the quick sightings. 1942 is where they start. Babe Aylesworth and Bill Hammersley, Aylesworth and Hammersley, reported seeing a large, dull, aluminum-colored fish from their plane. This encouraged others to come forth with sightings and more information. Over 20 years later, a biologist reported seeing a 25 to 30 foot fish from overhead. It did not come up for air. Another 4 years, Alaskan missionary Chuck Crapachuetts. It's an unfortunate name regardless. Chuck Crapachuetts has seen the monster twice. Once he was flying over in a float plane and he saw a large animal in the water. He got on the radio and tried to call some other people around and try to see and verify it, but nobody got there in time. One of his friends went trawling for it. He took a 5/16 stainless steel cable, put number 2 tuna hooks on it, baited them with caribou, and tied it off on the struts of his float plane. He was drifting and sitting out on the floats. All of a sudden, the plane gave a big jerk and knocked him off the floats. The plane was towed off, and he barely made it to shore. He walked for miles while the plane was towed around the lake. When he finally recovered his plane, 3 of his cables were gone. The hooks on the ones that remained were straightened out, and these hooks were 8 or 9 inches long. There has been beluga whales that have gone up the river into the lake, and it was possible that's what it was. Wow, but something that would be scary regardless. Even as a super cute little beluga whale, I guess not little, big, super cute big beluga whale, that still would be pretty terrifying. And we got 10 years later, a pilot while flying over Pedro Bay spots a 12 to 14 foot fish on the surface as it dove down, revealing a vertical tail. Another 10 years go by, and resident Verna Poliana reported seeing a large black fish with a white stripe down its fin. And next year, several locals report the same sighting from water and land, a large black fish with a fin swimming near the surface. And then the last sighting was in 2017. Kakhonik village residents saw a creature 1 mile offshore that was estimated at 50 to 60 feet in length. The animal blew like a whale and had several smaller ones following it. Ooh, so Iliamna's out there getting busy and making babies, yeah. And there's a trout. Okay, so that is the Iliamna Lake Monster, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we got. A bunch of different sightings that span, what was that, it started in the 40s, right? So we're coming up on 100 years. We're like at 80 years now worth of sightings. That's pretty crazy. Could be a lot of different things. But anytime they've ever, anybody's gone down there to try to prove it, no proof, just a bunch of crazy stories. So I'm going to need to refer to the pronunciation thingy majigger here.
Ah.
Let's take a look.
Oh.
Tizarok.
What did it say?
Tizarok.
Tizaruk. Tizaruk.
Tizarok.
Tizaruk.
Tizaruk.
Okay, that's definitely not it.
Tizarok.
Tizarok. We're going to go with Tizarok, ladies and gents. Tizarok. So I need that because I'm not going to embarrass myself for a full 15 minutes just with this monster's name. The Tizarok, the brutal sea serpent of Arctic waters. So this is Inuit folklore, right? So this is a cryptid that, comes out of Inuit folklore, or that's where it starts. We're going to learn a little bit about it at the CU in History / Mythology channel. That's a name for a YouTube channel. I mean, it's certainly a name. 2.3 million subscribers, though. So, anyways, I haven't actually seen... Oh, no, I did see this video. There's another video in here. There's a couple of these later ones that I wasn't able to get to last night. I have seen this video. This is going to give us a little information on the Tizaruk. So, here, let's pop that up. Yep, we're on the YouTube screen. All right. So, this is the Tizaruk.
The Tizaruk is a legendary creature rooted in Arctic lore, rising as a frightening aquatic entity. The Tizaruk is compared to a sea serpent, roaming the Arctic's icy waters, especially in the region around Alaska. Within Inuit mythology, the Tizaruk is frequently described as a stealthy predator, living in the frozen waters and lurking beneath the sea's surface. It is said that it can snatch unsuspecting animals and even humans, pulling them into the depths. The monster has shape-shifting abilities, rendering it a difficult figure to spot in the vast Arctic seascape. It is notorious for the echoing resonance of its frightening roars, breaking the silent expanse of water when it bursts through the surface. According to some accounts of the Tizaruk's dealings with human hunters and canoeists, the creature is seen as a protector of the Arctic waters, whereas others view it as a malevolent force able to capsize ships and inflict damage. The Inuit perceive the Tizaruk not only as a monster, but also as a reminder of the perils of the sea and the need to respect nature.
There you go. Easy peasy. I liked it. Nice, short, sweet, gets to the point. Thumbs up for you. Let's go subscribe. We'll subscribe to them. I'm sure I'm going to be using this channel at some other point in one of my other cryptid videos. Let's pop back over here. Just in time for me to cough in your face. Okay, so Tizaruk. The Tizaruk is a sea serpent reported from the subarctic coastal waters of King and Nunivak Islands in the Bering Sea, off of the Pacific Ocean. Let's look at where that is. Nunivak Islands. Let's pop a little map up right now. What was the name of the islands? I already forget. Nunivak. Nunivak Islands. Maps. Okay. Nunivak Island. There it is. Right there. Oh yeah, so that's out there. That's up there. It's probably cold as fuck up there. Yeah. So around this area, and what was the other place it was in? Waters of King Islands. Where's King Islands? In the Bering Sea. So is this whole thing the Bering Sea? Yeah, this whole thing. So it's all up in this bitch right here is the Tizaruk hunting ground. So stay out of those waters, yeah. Where was King's Island? There's St. Lawrence Islands. Somewhere in this area. I don't usually pull up maps to look at what the fuck is up here. I don't know how often y'all do that. Look at St. Paul, St. George. Are those the King's Islands? Look at how teeny tiny and lonely they look. Imagine being on one of those islands. That would just be scary in itself. And then this is the lake, Pedro Bay. Yeah, this is the Iliamna Lake right there. So we might keep this map up just so, because we're probably going to need it, right? So that's the hunting grounds of the Tizaruk. Off the Pacific Ocean coast of Alaska, relationships between the Tizaruk, the Wasco, Sisuit, a thing, stellar sea ape, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, have been considered. And several cryptozoologists support the theory that it may be a pinniped, a northern hemisphere counterpart to the Antarctic leopard seal. Pinniped. Pinniped. Let's look up a picture of a pinniped. I don't know why, but I just like Google better than Bing or whatever that is. Force a habit, I suppose. Pinniped. Oh, look at that little fucking guy. He's so cute. Okay, yeah. So pinniped, I mean, it just looks like a seal, right? It's a seal. That would be kind of a bummer. Seals are cool. Seals are dope. They're super fucking cute, you know? But I was definitely hoping for a giant, like, eat your face kind of, sea serpent is what I was hoping for. Accounts of the Tizaruk were collected from the inhabitants of Kings Island by ethnologist John White. Oh, John White, distant cousin of mine. Yeah, so here, let's go back to Kings Island. We'll just type this in. I need to find out where this is. King Island, Alaska. There's King Island. Oh, that's why we can't find it. That shit is tiny, little teeny tiny baby island right there. Imagine being stranded on that place. God, that would be a bummer. And then there's the Nunivak Island. So it's all in this area right here. Big hunting ground. So, first collected from inhabitants of King Island by John White, who communicated this information to Roy Mackle. The locals had a taboo regarding the Tizaruk and told White that hunters had been killed by the animal. According to White, the name Pal-ra-yuk was used for the same animal on Nunivak Islands. In 1983, Mackle referred to more recent information concerning unknown marine animals in the Bering Sea. Some Coast Guard personnel stationed nearby told him that the animals were present in the area but rare, and that the local Eskimos, who had attached mythical and religious significance to them, were afraid of them. One of Mackle's contacts reported that quite recently a woman had been killed by one of the animals, which had capsized her boat. Oh, shit. Right, so these are pretty spooky guys, right? They did say in the video, some people consider them malevolent. Description: the islanders claim that only the head and neck and occasionally the tail of the Tizaruk have been observed. Its general form is therefore unknown, although it can allegedly rise out of the water to a height of 7 to 8 feet. Wow. Its head is snake-like and its tail is flippered. The Tizaruk was usually reported from bays, less commonly from the open ocean. The islanders feared the animals but claimed to be able to attract them by tapping on the insides of their boots. The Tizaruk has also been described as a giant caterpillar or worm-like animal. Okay. So, theories about what this Tizaruk might be. Based on reported sea serpent sightings and local ethno-knowledge, Mackle believed that there were two distinct types of unknown marine animal in the Bering Sea, one of which he argued could be a zeuglodon. Zeuglodon, that's a new one. Okay. Let's just pop up the Zeuglodon, see if we can't get a picture. Whoa, look at this fucking guy. Okay. Basilsaurus, also called Zeuglodon. They were members of the Cetacean family, which lived during the Eocene period. Let's get some more pictures of this bad boy up, yeah? Interesting. Okay, so they think, ooh, look at this. Wow, that looks spooky. Yeah, fuck that guy, yeah. I like that one. That's my favorite. It's evil. Wow, look how big that one is, yeah. Oh, not what I wanted. Go back. Retreat. Yeah, fuck that. I wouldn't want to fuck with that. That's a beast. Okay, okay. Zeuglodon, my man. Might be the Tizaruk. The other long-necked eared seal analogous to the leopard seal of the southern hemisphere. Okay, so that's the two options. A Zeuglodon and the other being a long-necked eared seal analogous to the leopard seal of the southern hemisphere, one of the few southern pinnipeds which apparently has no northern counterpart. This northern leopard seal would be larger than the southern, with 4 limbs which have either disappeared or, as in the leopard seal, are kept close to the body, and thus rendered invisible. Mackle felt that there were not enough details regarding the Tizaruk to assign it to either category, but he strongly erred towards the northern leopard seal. It is known that leopard seals can be attracted by tapping on the gunwales or thwarts of boats, just like the Tizaruk. Bernard Heuvelmans wrote in support of the Zeuglodon theory. Interesting. Let's pop up this feller. Look at, okay, this guy says it's a Zeuglodon. And what has he done? Investigation of the Minnesota Iceman? Okay, we're going to learn about that at some point. Written a lot of books, all in French, so I'm not going to give you the names of any of them. Papers, nothing about the Zeuglodon, but supposedly he wrote in support of it. So this guy, he looks like a smart fella, right? Look at him reading his book. Like, I read books, I'm smart. He says it's a Zeuglodon, so I don't know. I want to go with Zeuglodon, personally. I think Zeuglodon, here's a picture. That's kind of like just a really pissed off angry seal, yeah. And these are just random animals. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Zeuglodon. Zoogly over here, Mr. Zoogie. That's a creepy motherfucker. Wouldn't want to be in any body of water with that. I wouldn't want to be floating in a bathtub with that fucking guy. Yeah, so there's the Tizaruk. Okay, they have, again, another sea serpent, right? We got the Lake Iliamna monster, the Iliamna Lake monster, and the Tizaruk. Tizaruk is out in the ocean. Much bigger one, it sounds like. They didn't really have a size, but apparently it's pretty big. Can capsize boats and shit. And is supposedly, maybe, possibly, kind of a mean motherfucker. Yeah, compared to the Lake Iliamna monster, which just might be a giant-ass white sturgeon. You know, the seal kind of sounds appropriate in Lake Iliamna, because they said there's seals around that lake year-round, right? So if it isn't its own giant, crazy monster, then seal would probably be my next best, right? Fuck the sturgeon. Hopefully it ain't a sturgeon. And then Tizaruk, I'm going with the Zeglodon. I like the name, Zeglodon, Zeggy. I think it's cute. I like the Zeglodon. I'm going with Zeglodon. That's my bet there. Okay, but we're going to move on from sea serpents for a little bit, yeah, and dive into some of the crazy shit that lives on land. Because even though we do later in the stream get into some other crazy sea-orientated cryptids, you know, because, you know, Alaska is surrounded by a giant fucking ocean, so you're going to have a lot of them. We're going to break from that. There's a lot of creepy shit on land, too. Yeah. So, let me introduce you to the Erkenrot, I believe it is. I'm going to have to type that into, we're going to have to make sure I'm saying this. Erkenrot pronunciation. Pronunciation. Okay. Other than human persons. Did I spell pronunciation right? Hut. Hut. The Hut. Okay. Hut. I can go with that. That makes it easy. The Hut. Okay, so let me introduce you to not the Erkenrot, the Hut. Okay, this is a short little TikTok, and it's kind of funny, to be honest. I kind of got a kick out of it. Can I go full screen on this bitch? Full screen. Look at you. Okay, and let's hop over to the YouTube. Just for a teeny weeny bit. Okay, here is the Hut.
Our tricks are wicked, and our revenge is merciless. Our tricks are wicked, and our revenge is merciless. Hello, I am Ursenrat, known as the Little People of Alaska.
They said Ursenrat. So now I don't know who to trust. I don't know. Where did I... Well, we'll go back to it. Hut or Ursenrat?
We are short in stature, with twisted limbs, resembling creatures hatched from your darkest nightmares. We dwell in underground caves and lairs deep in the remote Alaskan Yupik forests and mountains. Here, we have our own way of life, with fishing and hunting as our main pastimes. We don't like to be disturbed, and once someone invades our territory, we become furious and threatening. We use strange sounds to lure you off the normal path until you are completely lost. However,
we use strange sounds. Cue one of you playing a trumpet.
things will get worse. When you are unsure of what to do, we will suddenly appear before you, pretending to offer help. Unfortunately, lost individuals usually gladly accept our goodwill. But this will be your biggest mistake. We will take you deeper into the bush, tie you up in a tree, then gather companions around you to throw rocks, poke you, and make strange sounds to mock you. What's even more terrifying is that we will summon hungry wolves and bears from the forest to return you to nature forever. So, if you've ever been to Yupik
That escalated.
territory, always remember to respect us and not disturb our way of life.
I mean, it was kind of funny and cute when we got into the whole, we're going to make funny noises and throw rocks at you. Then like, yeah, and then we're going to get a big ass bear to eat you. Return you to nature. Oh, there was that crackle. Fucking crackle. Fuck you, crackle. Okay. Well, that is the Itchen Hut or Erkin Rat. Erkin Rat, Itchen Hut. I don't know. Unfortunately, for you guys and me, let's pop back over here. Unfortunately for both of us, there's not a lot of information on these guys out on the interwebs, right? We can try another Google search. I can't even pronounce that right, for fuck's sakes. We can try another Google search, but, I did this before. See, I've already clicked on a lot of this shit, except for these videos. There's just more of these TikTok videos of people doing the same thing. And then there's a lot of, what are these? Like, links to books, okay? And then links to people publishing books. But yeah, when it comes to, Incan Rat people Alaskan footage and it's AI, there's not a lot of, I think even this, yeah, see, what is this? It's a book. It's like a thing, a link to a thing, There is a bunch of these. Meet the top 10 mythical creatures in Alaska, but it gives you a little teeny itty baby write-up, yeah? Ireland has leprechauns. Hawaii has the Minehune. Ooh, yeah, we're going to definitely be hitting the Minehune when we do Hawaii. The Yupik have the Incinerat, or the Erkin Rat, or the Itchenhet, a race of miniature human-like creatures with extraordinary powers. Stories suggest they live in different dimensions than ours, but can move in and out of our world easily. Despite their extraordinary powers, the Incan Rat share some similarities with humans. They're often spotted hunting and gathering, for example. They also have a reputation as excellent craftsmen. Some say the Erkin Rat, have love making mischief, like leading people astray in the wilderness. Others say the Erkin Rat are good luck. Still others tell tales about kidnappings by the Erkin Rat, in which victims are spirited away to underground lairs. Those who journey to the realm of the Erkin Rat report that a day in their world is like a year in our time. Keep your eyes out for these mythical creatures while you're in Alaska, and your ears out, since the Erkin Rat have been known to sing while they work. And this is about what you're going to find on every website, yeah? I think this is another, yeah, exactly the same thing. And it's also, anytime you run into these, there's so many of these AI videos about the Erkin Rat. Every time you do, it's like a whole nother set of facts and a whole different design, right? This one is like a creepy little boy ghost, right? With like a sweater his mom knitted for him. And, the other one was like kind of like animalistic. Like it looked like it was wearing a mask, but not really. Yeah. Lake Clark's Erkin Rat. So this is just Pinterest. Yeah, see, again, it's really difficult to find any actual information on these little dudes, right? Which is a bummer. So, Horror America, I think that's the one we just watched. Yeah, not a lot of information exists on these guys. You would think there would at least be, like, articles discussing, like, what the lore actually is behind them, because that's really what I was looking for. Is like a little bit of lore, right? Like somebody who's written some sort of article, like this is about, like this is what the Inuit people's lore says about the Erkin Rat. So, no sightings, nobody who's came out and just been like, oh yeah, I saw one of them little fuckers, none of that shit. But, you don't get like sightings with actual leprechauns neither, right? If you go research leprechauns on the internet, I know because I've tried, unfortunately, you don't get a whole bunch of sightings of actual leprechauns. What you get is the lore behind leprechauns, right? That's what you'll get. Or you'll get a lot of articles about like the leprechaun, like various movies about leprechauns and things like that, you know, but you don't get a lot of actual sightings about leprechauns. So, you know, the Irken rat is the same way. You're not going to get a lot of sightings, but you could at least get a lot of that Inuit lore, right? That would be the cool shit. That is, you know, what's going to make up a large portion of our stream, anyways, is talking about a lot of the native tribes up there, a lot of the various different creatures that they've talked about. You know, I got a Alaskan myths and legend stream coming up here soon. And that's what the majority of that stream is going to be. It's going to be a whole bunch of myths and legends from the Inuit people and a couple other different tribes up there. And because they got some really crazy, cool legends up there, you know? So that's kind of the stuff that I was looking for. And nothing. Absolutely nothing. Fucking fart in the wind. There's none of that on the internet or on the interwebs or on Google, at least. I could try DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo seems to be better nowadays. I know they're owned by the same company. Anyways, what I did find a lot of was links to books. And this one seemed to be the most popular. Irken rat other than human persons. We actually, I don't know if you noticed, but we've seen that exact phrase multiple times on that Google search I just did. That was all over the place, the other than human persons. It's talking about a book that was written about the Irken rat. That is supposedly a really good book. I mean, it's the number one book that I keep finding on Amazon and other places. Here's a link to it from the University of Alaska Mall website. I'll leave that link in the description to the YouTube video. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, oh, that looks fucking cool, I'll leave the link in the description so you can check it out. But as far as actual lore goes, as far as actual lore goes, we got to revert to where the people who are talking about it are, which is Reddit. So, you know, I sincerely do not like to go to Reddit, Wikipedia, throw Quora up there. I don't like to go to those places for sources when I'm on stream, even when it's something fun and entertaining like this, and it's not like serious subject matter. I still don't like to go to them for sources because so much of it can just be so easily made up, and then you have no idea what you're talking about. But when all else fails, Reddit is, in fact, always there. Even if their information is silly, made up, there's going to be somebody on Reddit talking about everything, right? So that is the benefit of Reddit, besides the entertainment value. So this person asks, he says, hello, everyone. Does anyone have first-hand encounter or story they would like to share out of these creatures? You can also count on Reddit for very poor spelling, too. And would you be okay with me sharing your POV on a podcast? Delete if not allowed. Thank you in advance. So, not a lot of comments on here. Most people have heard of the Irken rat. A lot of people just saw the same TikTok or one of the many TikToks that exist about the Irken rat. There's even a comment down here. Let's see. You saw the TikTok, didn't you? You saw the TikTok. Hello, my name is Urban. That was another TikTok I found. I couldn't show you that one in good faith. But yeah, there's one where it's an Irken rat, calls himself Urban. So there is some people, though, that at least have heard about them or have an experience with them. So there's supposed to be little people all along the Yukon. I've heard of little people my whole life and would like to see some. I haven't been to any Yukon villages since I was little. I've heard stories they hang around the schools at Emo. There's two kinds, ones that are mischief and bad and ones that predict good news. I have heard little people stories from elders that grew up in this area too. I've also heard there is an old haunted Denina graveyard from the 1980 flu pandemic at the bluffs by the mouth of the Deshka River. If it weren't so inaccessible, it would be interesting to check it out. Okay, that's a whole nother thing he's talking about. But yeah, so there's a bunch of people from Alaska who have heard about it. I've heard many, this person says, Symbian, close to something else. Symbian says, I've heard many stories, but I haven't seen one myself. I have family that have seen them. When I was young, my uncle and I were out and he found a stone bowl. He handed it to me and I held onto it until we were to go home by boat. I put it down briefly to pee, and when I went to grab it, it was gone. We looked for it for what felt like hours, but could never find it. Ooh, spooky. Did you see any? I'd love more details. But I haven't seen one myself, yeah. So that's another thing about the Irken rat is some people say, oh yeah, they're bad news, right? They'll fucking hang you by your jimmies and then throw rocks at you and make sounds to make you feel bad about yourself. Then there's other people say, no, no, it's good luck. You know, they're good. It's all in good fun. They're just funny little people that just give you good luck. So this person is from a Native American tribe that which I can't pronounce, the Payak, Innu Payak. I think that might be the Innus. Call them Inukans. Here is an audiobook on a famous true crime instance when they showed up in a official court proceedings. And a person had, I think he had to throw an amendment addendum on there, not officially like as a witness, just witness testimony about them. So that's kind of interesting. I clicked on the Audible, and I'm not going to spend the credit to get just so we can hear about people in court talking about them, but apparently that did happen. Let's see, you saw a TikTok. There's an Innu version of little people that goes by a different name, Unikin, something like that. Yeah, it is this guy. Strangely enough, all creatures have a form of little people in their lore. Just did an episode on the Nimerigar. In Spanish, we call them duendes. Most Spanish families have some stories about this. So you got to think or wonder if at some point in human history we had dwarves, little people, actual little people, and people were just they just did not understand what was, the medical issue here, or what was the physical explanation for how this can happen. So they just made up a bunch of stories to try to make themselves feel better about it, or explain it away what they couldn't explain. And that's where all these cultures have all these little people stories. Because it is really crazy how many cultures in the world. It's like mermaids and what's the other one? Mermaids, and there's something else. Fuck. Bigfoot. There is Bigfoot all over the world. Like there's so many cultures that have Bigfoot like stories, right? Bigfoot, so giant people, little people, and fish people, like just seem to be a continuous thing that all cultures seem to have in common, where they all have their own legend about this, right? So this person says he says he's seen one. Character Juice 3148. Sounds like a trustworthy guy. They are very alien to behold. Very small, 3 feet tall at the most. Blunt nose, large round ears, hairy but not fur. The one I got to know loved to trade but had no sense of value. He probably thought the same thing about me. I met him fishing. We couldn't communicate, but its name sounded like Mayashmoon. We just called him Mamoon. They are incredibly fast. I'm talking blink of an eye fast. It felt like he only moved when I blinked, but he could cover 5 to 10 paces in that time. He could ambulate, but he used this blink mostly. It was very unsettling at first. He really valued shiny things and fish and loved to hum songs. He liked fishing lures, bullets, coins, knives, necklaces, and rings. He also liked matches, lighters, and beer. Well, who doesn't? Didn't care for cigarettes. Oh, no fun, this guy. He would always hum a certain melody when he saw fire. If I lit a smoke or started a fire, he would always hum the same tune. He would bring me a bunch of old junk, bones, rusted cans, old pieces of rotted leather, shredded plastic bags. He thought I would want it, I guess. I always accepted it graciously and would give him whatever coins I had in my pockets or something out of my tackle box and a few fish, of course. We would trade often over the course of one summer. One day he never came back to our spot. I left things out for him, but he never returned. My gifts would be there weeks later. It's been 40 years and I never saw one since. Swear on your mum, says this guy. Vivid imagination, says High South. Yeah, I might have to agree with him here. So here's a native's account of it. Native here. It's a story made up to keep kids from wandering into the woods, where real threats like wildlife or getting lost exist, and meant to keep non-natives from disrespecting the wilderness by making it seem like they'll be safe if they honor the land. My cousin and his friends hid in the hills near a popular hiking path one spring and dressed like you would suspect they would dress, and they would make themselves seen by passerby from a distance and just stare at them. It was hilarious. That does sound kind of funny. So, yeah, there you go. I'm going to go with the native there, this feller. He seems to have it right. It's probably just something that was made up to scare kids away from the woods. Because what's more terrifying than a creepy little person that's going to hang you by your britches and throw rocks in your face? Maybe the Tizaruk, that's a little bit more terrifying, but when you're on land, you don't got to worry about one of them. So little persons it is. Seen what appeared to be little persons tracks going out on the sea ice. Different kind of sea, I suppose. Appeared to be a form of mukluk, as there was no tread designs. Went quite a ways out. My mom said not to follow it. Norton Sound area. My great-grandmother talked about seeing little people. I just remember being told to avoid them if I came across them. It's not much, but that's all I've got. I saw one at Walmart. She was rude as hell. I got to throw a little bit of Reddit in each stream just for these funny moments. I saw one at Walmart. She was rude as hell. So this guy talks about, I lived in Hawaii, went to Alaska, just like my cutie pie. Cutie pie, she should be in her interview right about now. So anybody else is watching, cross your fingers for my cutie pie. Hope she gets this awesome job she wants. But yeah, my cutie pie is from Hawaii, born and raised in Hawaii. Went to high school in Alaska. Very common in Samoan culture to do that. So I apparently, according to her, and I don't know why she would lie about something like that. So, and in Hawaii they have the menehune, and in Alaska they have the Inkenrod, or the Itchen hut. Itchen hut. Yes, the Itchen hut. So in any case, yeah, that is kind of this person, same thing. In Hawaii, we got the menehune, Alaska, the Itchen hut. Let's see. And yeah, I see them all the time. I met this one little person who was pretty chill. So funny to me how so many people will assume things about a large group of people. The Erkenrot people were probably a short group of native Alaskans that frightened hunters, and a crazy story was made up about them. I love folklore and I don't want to disrespect anyone's culture, but to believe there are thousands of hostile humans that all share aggressive and evil intents is blasphemous. I don't know if blasphemous is the correct word there, but I get what you're saying. That's like if you never met a human before and the first one you met was a serial killer, so you believe all humans act like and are serial killers. LOL, I know, this is a year late. My friend just sent me this thread, but I think the belief now is that they are not humans, not that they are hostile humans. It's supposed to be magic. I agree it's possible that that's where the story came from, but also, quote-unquote, little people are a common legend amongst many cultures. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I could believe that. It was, a tribe of people that was just slightly smaller than, and it probably didn't even need to be a lot smaller. Like, they didn't need to be like, 2-foot little Tinkerbells. They, just slightly smaller. And in those days, seeing those people, they're like, oh yeah, they just call them little people, but then it gets lost in translation, and generations later, people, when they say little people, they think little fucking munchkin, yay high to a grasshopper. And that becomes the new legend, right? That everybody talks about is, oh yeah, there's like 3-foot tall people in the forest there, and they're little shits. And really, it was just, these people might have even been pretty regular size, 5 foot maybe, but that's shorter than other Alaskans in that area, Alaskan tribes. So they called them little people. You could see something like that happening. Yeah, I mean, I'm making it up as I go, but my made up bullshit sounds like it could be real, right? So there you go. First hand encounter, no. Okay, so this guy is a Innu Eskimo who grew up in the bush north of Kotsubu. The elders, including my parents, would tell us never to whistle under the northern lights as the Unakans would cut our heads off. Oh, that's a little bit more than mischief. That's called murder. That's intense. Interesting, I lived near the Zuni and Navajo reservations in New Mexico, and they were always told not to whistle at night because it attracts skinwalkers. Oh, wow. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. Okay, so there you have it. That's the Erkenrot, or the Itchen hut. And not a lot is known about him, unfortunately. I still had to bring him up because it is entertaining. And it is if you're an Alaskan native and you see a stream on cryptids or legends in Alaska and it doesn't bring up the Erkenrot, it sounds like that's kind of like foul, right? Like, oh, that's one that supposedly a lot of locals at least hear about up there. Yeah, so I had to bring it up just to bring it up. There is no, as as far as anybody's concerned, no confirmed sightings. There is no supposed what could this be. Cryptozoologists don't seem to be entirely entertained with this idea or give too many fucks about it. But I just had to throw it in there because it's cool, interesting. Now we're going to move on to a little more of a popular one. This is definitely a more popular one in Alaska. If you type in Alaskan cryptids in Google, DuckDuckGo, anywhere else, you're going to get the Alaskan Bushman. And what is the Alaskan Bushman? Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot. Okay, we went over this in Alabama. In Alabama, they have the white thing. And what else do they have? A swamp something. Oh, booger. The downy booger. I don't know. We got 48 states to go after this, but I don't think any state is going to have as good of a name for their version of Bigfoot as the downy booger or the white thing. I think it's so Alabama and it's perfect. But in Alaska, they call him the Bushman. And they actually have a couple variations. We're going to get into that in a moment. But, you know, we're going to have to mention Bigfoot in every state. It's just a thing. It's a part of it. Bigfoot is in damn near every state that exists, so he's going to get mentioned, you know. According to the 1901 edition of the Bulletin of the American Museum of Natural History, Volume 15, the Alaskan Tornit are described thusly. In early times, the Tornit, a race of very large people, inhabited the country. They quarreled with the Eskimo because the latter intruded upon their land. This made the Tornit angry, who broke the ground with their lances and spears and split rocks into pieces. So don't fuck with those guys. So in, I believe it's Inuit culture, they're called the Tornit. And everyone else in Alaska calls them the Alaskan Bushmen. It is believed that the Tornit and the Jacan, both races of giants, inhabit the interior. A legend about the Tornit was recounted in the 1901 bulletin, which told about how the giants would come to the house of Eskimos while the men were off hunting and sometimes kill the women and children there. Ooh, pretty messed up people. So those are definitely the meanest Bigfoots we've come across thus far. Another story tells of a pair of Tornit children, a boy and a girl, that were captured and assimilated alongside the Eskimo people. The boy became renowned for his ability to throw a spear, but purportedly vanished into the forest after being made to demonstrate his skill by impaling an old dog in the village. The girl, it was said, eventually married one of the Eskimos in the village. According to the 1901 bulletin, it is said that in the Igloolik country, the land still shows how the Tornit tore it up with their harpoon shafts when they were about to leave. Terry Toombs, a former Alaskan now living in Montana, wrote in 2012 about the legend of the Tornits. Stories of the Alaskan Bushmen, or Tornits, have been told since the first humans crossed the Bering Land Bridge, Toombs wrote. In the beginning, the story goes the Inuit and the Tornits lived peacefully in villages near each other and shared common hunting grounds. The Inuit people often built and used kayaks for hunting. While the Tornits were unable to master the building of kayaks, they were very aware of the advantages of having and using one. One story goes that a young Tornit borrowed a young Inuit's kayak without permission and damaged the bottom of it. The young Inuit became very angry and stabbed the Tornit in the nape of the neck while he was sleeping, killing him. The rest of the Tornits feared that they too would be killed by the Inuit and fled the country, rarely to be seen again. Since that time, many stories have come out of the bush of hunters disappearing, later found dead and mangled or never seen again. Apparently, hunters and the Tornits no longer peacefully share common hunting grounds. Toombs told his story about a fishing trip for salmon in the Deshka and Little Susitna rivers, where one cool and rainy spring they had been pulling in salmon when Toombs, his father, and his brother smelt an unusual skunky odor. Noticing that most of the other fishermen had left the area, Toombs' father released the holster on his .45, and the family quickly left the area. When asked why they were leaving, he told his sons it had been a bear, although Toombs recalled seeing uprooted trees that had been thrust into the ground as they left the area. I learned many years later that was a telltale sign of Bigfoot territory, Toombs wrote. I guess I'll never know if that was a bear or a Bigfoot that displaced us from fishing that evening, but I do know that that was the last time our families ever fished that river. It was also the first and only time all the kids got to sleep, or at least tried to, in the camp trailer instead of the tent. So, the Tornit people, also known as the Alaskan Bushmen, tons and tons and tons of stories all over the internet of people seeing the Alaskan Bushmen or Bigfoot or coming into contact with him. Tons of cryptozoologists are interested in this. This is the exact opposite of the Eichenhut or Erkenrots. Complete opposite, where cryptozoologists are very interested in it. tons of stories about it, tons of people who have gone out into Alaska to try to find the Alaskan Bushmen, the varying levels of evidence, pictures, as you see here. I don't know if this is in Alaska, but, pictures of it do exist. And we're not going to go over any of that, right? Because, I mean, look, I can do a whole 5-hour stream, a whole 8-hour stream just on the various Bigfoot sightings in all the different states. And I'm going to leave that in my back pocket to potentially do that. So we're not going to get too deep into it. And plus, it's Bigfoot. Bigfoot's cool. That's fine. That's dope. Some people pretty love Bigfoot, really love talking about Bigfoot, and good for those people. Good for those Bigfoot lovers. They found something they enjoy in life. But I myself am not the biggest fan of Bigfoot just because, I mean, at this point it exists everywhere and there's so much information out about it. And in this particular circumstance, there's nothing that really separates the Alaskan Bushman from other Bigfoot stories. Like, in Alabama, it was the White Thing. And White Thing not only had a funny name, but also was white, pure white fur with potentially a lion's head instead of, a face, a human face. And that is way more interesting than just your basic standard Bigfoot. So we're not going to go over any of that. Instead, what I wanted to go over is how many variations of Bigfoot actually exist in Alaska, because there's a fuck ton. We just read about the Tornit, also known as the Alaskan Bushman to people who aren't Inuit. There's also the Ura-Yuli. The Ura-Yuli of Alaska are allegedly ape-like creatures that live in southwestern Alaska. Stories of the Ura-Yuli describe them as standing 10 feet tall with long shaggy fur and luminescent eyes. They are said to emit a high-pitched cry resembling that of a loon. Their long, lanky arms have been described as reaching down to their ankles. So, a similar cryptid monster dubbed the Hairy Man has many of the same features. This Bigfoot-like creature was spotted near Valdez, Alaska, which is in the south. There are two things different, though. The Hairy Man seems to be more aggressive than the Ura-Yuli, and there seems to be more than a single Hairy Man. The Ura-Yuli and the Hairy Man could be the same cryptid, but do their tempers differ? Yeah, so the Ura-Yuli, it is said that the Ura-Yuli are transformed children who become lost in the woods at night. It is possible that this tale was started to keep children indoors. Rumored to live in the forest near the area of Lake Iliamna. Ooh, so Lake Iliamna's got all kinds of crazy shit. They got Ura-Yuli and the Lake Iliamna lake monster, but are also said to be peaceful creatures, unlike the Kushtaka. We'll get into the Kushtaka in the Alaskan Myths and Legends stream that I do. But yeah, so Ura-Yuli is another variation on the Sasquatch that is in southwestern Alaska, as is the Hairy Man. So you got the Bushman, you got the Hairy Man, you got the Ura-Yuli, and you got the Tauren. Was it the Tauren? The Torbit? The Torlid? The something or another. Let's get back to that. Right here. Okay, so the Tornit. The Tornit, the Ura-Yuli, Hairy Men, and Bushmen, right? You also got this recounting of a Bigfoot in southeast Alaska, coastal British Columbia, and northwest Washington from the Puget Sound to Yucatan called the Rain Coast Sasquatch. So this is a whole nother thing that supposedly comes up its way into Alaska called the Rain Coast Sasquatch. And this is actually just a book. The book's called the Rain Coast Sasquatch, but it's just your basic Sasquatch. There's nothing particularly amazing about him in terms of the Sasquatches. But you got this specific breed of Sasquatch or species, whatever, that sits in this area of the world, southeast Alaska and southwestern Alaska. They have the Ura-Yuli and the Hairy Men. Then you have the Tornit and the Alaskan Bushman, right? So you got a whole bunch of variations on the Sasquatch just right there. And it continues. There is a TV show called Alaskan Monsters, right? Destination America's hit show Alaskan Monsters follows a team dubbed the Alaskan Midnight Suns. Wow, they're trying to be a biker club. The Midnight Suns. Into the Alaskan bush. In the state where some people want to disappear from modern conveniences, there is also a number of people that go missing every year in this unforgiving wilderness. Many Alaskans blame bears, wolves, or the weather, but others think that mysterious cryptids, such as Bigfoot, are connected to these unexplained disappearances. This is where AMS steps in. A team of 6 experienced frontiersmen are on a mission to prove that these creatures exist by building elaborate traps and exploring the Alaskan Triangle zone by zone. We'll get into the Alaskan Triangle. We'll mention it again a little later in the stream, but I got a whole bunch of information. A whole bunch of information for you on that in the Alaskan Myths and Legends stream that I'm going to do. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, they have a whole season dedicated to the various Bigfoot sightings and versions of Bigfoot that exist in Alaska. Here, season 2, the Bigfoot edition. See, I didn't lie. They have the Siberian Giant trip outside Coldfoot, Alaska. So let's have a little bit of fun here, because I'm scooting through this particular stream, right? I don't know if, to be honest, it doesn't actually seem like anybody's watching this particular stream, which is fine, whatever. You guys can watch it later on your YouTube. I'm trying 11 a.m. streaming sessions, and it's a lot nicer. I really enjoy streaming at 11 a.m., but I don't seem to be getting a lot of hits at 11 a.m., so I might have to go back to streaming at 7 at night to see if that's better. But I said I'd give it a month. We're going to give it a month of trying it and see what my streaming views look like. But in the meantime, I enjoy streaming first thing, get it up, get a breakfast, meditate, do my bullshit, and then hit the stream. I just have more energy and it's a lot funner. And then I get the rest of the day to work out and do all of my other business. And that's awesome. I love that. So I hope that I get more hits on my 11 a.m. streams. But if I don't, I don't. It is what it is. Y'all at YouTube will show me a little love. I know that. So anyways, I'm scooting through this stream this morning. We're going pretty quick. I'm going at a good pace. And I think we'll be able to get through all of the different animals that I had for you, all the different cryptids. So let's just take a minute to have a little fun and look at the Siberian Giant outside Coldfoot, Alaska. Let's triangulate these different areas where Bigfoot has been seen. Coldfoot, Alaska is one. Okay, so Coldfoot, Alaska, right? Yeah, let's pop a little thingy jigger there. So wow, that's way up there. That's up there. Okay, and then we had the Urayuli. The Urayuli. Urayuli was right here. Listen, click. Thank you. Yeah. So that's Lake Iliamna, where the Urayuli were. Yeah. I thought that, yeah, these things stay here. Pedro Bay. Let's put a little, can we put a little thing there? I thought, okay, hold on. Let's just do Lake. There we go. Okay, so does the marker stay there? I would appreciate, no, it sure don't. My marker didn't stay up here neither. Get out my face. How do I make markers stay? I'm going to have to... Cold Foot, Alaska? Yeah, that's what they said. Coldfoot, Alaska. Boop. No. Wrong boop. Boop. There we go. Okay, so... Okay, yeah, let's go there. That's a link, right? Okay, I'm going to have to Google this. How do I make multiple markers in Google Maps? Custom maps with custom location. Use my maps feature. My maps feature. Where's the my maps feature here? Oh, is it in here? Maps. This is where I'm at. That's Alaska. Yep. My maps feature. View more. What a bummer. Okay, I might not be able to figure it out. It might take me too long. You're going to have to just sit and stare at me while I'm doing it, and that's no fun. Nobody wants to have to do that. What does this little button do? Show your location. Oh, we don't need that. There we go. That would work. Yeah. Oh, nope. We don't want that. Okay. What was this? I don't know what I did there. Get out. Retreat. No. Out my face. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to research that a little later. Coldfoot. So that's way up there. That is definitely cold where that's at. Yeah. Oof. Glad I was not born there. So that was where the Siberian giant is, which is a whole nother Bigfoot. Denali National Park to look at for the Windwalker. So that we got a Windwalker here. Windwalker and Denali National Park. Denali National Park and Preserve. Okay, so this right here. Let's pop back up here. So Coldfoot was somewhere in this area. There it is, Coldfoot right there. We got another Bigfoot down there. Oh, look at all of them. The Yukon Howler, Tok, Alaska, the dog mushing community. Tok. Tok, maybe? Tok, Alaska. So that's over in Yaw. In Mukluk, so there's the Denali National Park. Tok, Coldfoot. Yeah. Okay. The Woodsman, that was a Yukon Howler. On gold claims to look at reports of a Bigfoot reported to be responsible. Gold claims. Is that a place? Zone 18, Gold Country. Okay. Woodsman. Then they have the Water Stalker. Cook Inlet. Cook Inlet for the Water Stalker. They have some pretty creepy names, too. Cook Inlet? Yeah, there it is. Nice. Cook Inlet. Ah, so that's next to Iliamna Lake, right? Oh, this is the whole inlet. Oh, wow. That's a pretty broad area. Thunderfoot. Hazardous Bear Country. Killing Grizzlies. Wow, look at that. And they didn't have a spot for that. The Klondike Crawler, Zone 9. Don't know where Zone 9 is. Crazy. And then the Red Devil. Copper Valley. Where's Copper Valley at? Red Devil. Nasty noises. Red Devil. Oh, that's a whole nother. No, that's not what we needed. What did we need? We needed Copper Valley. Yeah, Copper Valley. Got carried away there. Alaska's AK, right? Yeah. Whoa, so that's the whole Copper Valley. Oh shit. That's a big ass valley. Yeah, that's a lot. Okay. Well, so I mean it's pretty much, it seems to be kind of just centered all around in this area, probably because nobody fucking goes up in that area. Who even lives up there? Yeah. There is towns up there though. Look at that. Swagon, Prudhoe Bay. Man, imagine how cold it must be up there. Oof. The Arctic Ocean. Oh, man. I bet that's brutal. That's crazy living up there, I bet. Okay, so just to prove the point, though, right, I'm getting carried away here. To prove the point, all kinds of Bigfoots. We got each one of those is a different Bigfoot sighting that has its own freaky nickname just to illustrate how spooky or fucked up or mean or monstrous or scary or big its feet are. So, yeah, tons of Bigfoot sightings all over Alaska. I don't think I needed to tell you that. I'm sure you were probably aware. Even if you're not a fan of cryptozoology, one could imagine that, yeah. Do giants exist? Yeah, there's actually, I believe, we're going to defer to the giant expert, Joe Rogan. That's a joke. He's not an expert on anything, but we're going to defer to him. I wonder if, I've been wondering if this clip actually talks about giants in Alaska. if it has anything to
The
do
Joe
with it.
Rogan Experience.
Here's one that always gets me. Stories of giants.
I want that to be real so bad. I mean, I want all of
That
this
the
to be real.
Smithsonian's been hiding the information. Those are the big conspiracy.
Could be.
Down in their basement, they've got like a 10-foot tall human being.
I mean,
a race
there
of
was-
giants that existed, roamed the earth.
I love his face right there. He's so intense.
David and Goliath's a real story.
It just seems like they wouldn't be gone. They wouldn't be the ones that would have been killed off.
Unless, in the cataclysm, like the Younger Dryas impact theory, there wasn't enough food.
Oh,
and they died off, you know? Because if you're that big, you need to eat a lot.
So you think they were around like way long ago?
Way
They died
long ago.
off way long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think like recently. But I think like
Yeah.
it is, there's so many stories and so many cultures have these stories, even in the Bible, of a race of giants.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it couldn't just be big people.
Right.
It seems like what they're talking about is something crazy.
I guess it could be if you're
It could
just
be.
because if you're just mythologizing. There's
Yeah.
no way that's a word, but if you're just turning something that is real, this is the same with like a dragon. People obviously just get inspired by things that are around them. They start to morph into things. I mean, there was no fire-breathing animal
Right.
flying around.
Probably crocodiles and shit like that.
Yeah,
that
crocodiles,
people
and
saw.
then there are like cobras that spit venom, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously gets in your eyes. Probably gonna burn like a son of a bitch. So like, there's like the fire myth. I mean.
And people exaggerate.
Yeah, so exactly that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, people will take somebody who is a big son of a bitch, and they go, "Oh, well, let's exaggerate and
For
say
sure.
that the guy he fought was 9 feet tall
Right,
instead
right.
of 6'5".
Exactly.
Which he probably was. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, when you talk about races of these giants, you could also be talking about like people from Iceland.
Yeah.
Right?
Who
Like,
were naturally.
enormous
big as
Viking
hell.
dudes
Yeah.
who were always win those fucking strongman competitions. Those guys are, there's giants up there. Like
Oh, yeah.
400, like the mountain from Game of Thrones, like that kind of
Yeah.
person. So you think about
Yeah.
that, like that's that size human.
Right.
There could have been a bunch of those around, and maybe that's what they were talking about, giants. Or there could have been like a specific race of humans. Like they keep finding these additional types of humans. Like they found Denisovans fairly recently, and then that other one that we brought up the other day, the big-headed people. That's fairly recently. They've discovered that
big-headed
this is a
people?
completely different branch.
If they were alive, they would take offense to that. The big-headed people.
That there may, I mean, but here's the thing: if they did find those, would they tell us? Like, if archaeologists, like, who would put the cap on that? If they found like a 10-foot human under like a just gigantic
Right.
dead human with a huge sword underground, like, would they just say we're wrong, giants existed, or would they go, people can't handle this?
That's a tough because that's the answer to or that's the question for so many things. It's
They
like,
might say people can't handle it. It's not outside the realm
Yeah.
of possibility.
I would say they'd probably say
Isn't that infuriating?
yeah.
Can you imagine if it was you? Now imagine you're out in West Texas, wherever you are, hanging out with your friends, and somebody notices something in the ground, and you start digging, and you pull out a fucking thigh bone that's this big, and you plop it down. You go, what the fuck is that? And then
Yeah.
you got a buddy who works at the university nearby, and he starts digging. He's like, hey, dude, this is a fucking human foot. And he pulls out a human foot
I love this hypothetical story he's got. Like, he has definitely thought this through.
that's size 38. And you're like, what is going on, man? And so then
Yeah.
you bring in some experts and like, holy shit, dude, this is a giant. And then they do DNA tests. They find out it's a real actual creature.
Yeah. I'm telling everyone.
Yeah.
That
They're
look
gonna
at
kill
his
you. They're gonna
face.
kill you.
I'm telling everyone.
Yeah.
mean,
they're gonna kill you. They're gonna kill you. The scientists
They're
will
gonna
kill
kill
you. They're
you.
gonna run you off the road.
Yeah, I get
Look at
it.
this.
Longest, or what I guess would be the tallest
The people have ever found?
that they've ever found. It was found in China. It's supposedly about 4,400 years old. Would have been about 16, 18 years old. The weird thing here is, though, that it says there was 3 drill holes found in the skull, and they don't
Whoa.
know why.
Whoa. Drill holes. How big was it?
6'4".
Oh.
Oh.
Well, back then, that was probably
Oh.
fucking huge.
Well, you said they found it in China?
Yeah.
That's a giant.
And they're calling it, they call
Right.
it a
Well, it
giant.
might be Mongolian, you know?
Well,
I'll
just
just look it
compared
up.
to the Chinese that are found,
Right.
they're probably like, holy shit, this
Goliath
thing's...
is anywhere from modern day, maybe they say up to 6'6", but they're like taking the word for word from the Bible, it'd have been about 9'9".
Yeah, that's what I always
Right,
thought. That's
right,
what I always
right,
I don't know
right.
how to
remember
see
as
a
a
weight,
kid.
weight size.
Right. Well, if you're back then, nobody had any food, and the average man was probably like 5'4". So if you encounter some dude who's 6'6", some big jack guy, that is a giant.
That's a giant.
And then also, like, you got to think human beings, if they exist today and they're 6'6", they had the potential to be that big back then. They just didn't get the food.
Yeah.
But if you are in some very nutrient-rich environment, look at
Yao Ming
versus,
and
both those guys play pro basketball.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Muggsy, is it Muggsy Bogues?
Muggsy Bogues, yeah.
But there's smaller people that exist that can function and do stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that the potential for that guy, the Yao guy, who's, how tall is he?
7'7", I think.
Right, that exists in the human genome, right? That's not like we engineered them like we did dogs.
Right.
Like that exists.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe back then, if you had a ton of food and you didn't have to worry about war, like, and people
Yeah.
just kept breeding and growing and getting nutrient rich, because the thing about people in the past is they
Okay, he's going to go on a thing right there, but yeah. So that is kind of interesting. I'll link. I don't know if I need to link this because you just watched it, so I probably won't link that in the description. It is interesting that there's a whole conspiracy theory. Here, let's hop over here. So it is interesting that there is a whole conspiracy theory that they've discovered giants in Alaska multiple times and they've disappeared multiple times. I personally wasn't very convinced by the 1900s news article because we've had on this channel when we went over carnivorous plants. I did that. I think it was like my second or third Wildlife Wednesday stream. I went over carnivorous plants, and at the end of the stream, we go over man-eating plants, right? Like the history of different types of man-eating plants that might have existed. And there was newspaper clippings of man-eating plants out in the jungle, out in some, I don't know, Mozambique or wherever. Yeah, some very jungle area. I believe it was in Asia, though, not Africa. In any case, it ended up being a bunch of bullshit. Okay, it was just some guy back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. A lot of these people who were writing these articles, there was no way for them to really prove. Like, there was no internet. You couldn't just check people's credentials like you can nowadays. And so it was very easy for people to fake having those credentials, claim that they were a particular person, and get away with writing silly shit in the newspaper as actual stories. And plenty of newspapers and magazines and such, I don't know if they had magazines back then, but plenty of newspapers and such would print these stories because it enticed the public. The public liked it. They were like, fuck, people eat up stories of giants. So I'm entertained by the article that we read, the 1900s article from the San Francisco Chronicle, but I don't believe any of it, really. I don't believe the article. It's very much more likely that some doofus just ran into a miner who had some tall tales, been out in the wilderness by himself a little too long, and told him some crazy shit, and he believed it. Some tall tales, as it were. Yeah. So, anyways, when it comes to all the other shit that we watched in the previous video, the first video before the Joe Rogan video, they're talking about, records of people finding giant skulls, but then these giant skulls just gone up missing. You got two obvious options there, right? Either they did find the skulls, and the government or somebody keeps taking the skulls and pretending like they don't exist, or they didn't actually find giant skulls and they're just writing about it and saying, oh, we found a giant skull, and people are like, oh, so let me see it. And they're like, oh, bro, somebody took it. What a bummer, right? Like, I would totally show you the giant skull, but some asshole came and took it, and from the government and whatever, fucking Smithsonian took it and whatever. So, I can't even talk to you about this. So, which one? This one seems to be more likely, right? I mean, how often are archaeologists becoming famous, right? And when like Joe Rogan talks about like, would archaeologists even tell us this? Like, would they even let us know if they found giants? Like, fuck yeah, they would. They want to get famous. You know how famous you would be if you uncovered the first giant skeleton? You would tell everybody because you would be insanely famous. everybody would remember it was you. Not everybody. Most people wouldn't ever remember your name, but you would go down in the history books as the dude who found giants. You know? Of course you would tell people. Everybody would tell people. That's craziness. So, yeah, I totally disagree with that. I think there's a very real possibility that somebody would uncover it. Even if they didn't discover it, like if you worked for the Smithsonian and you knew the Smithsonian was covering this up, of course you would fucking bring it to people. Of course you would go to the news. Like, I have proof, because then you would, that's how you would get famous. You could write a book about it. You know, this is a career now for you, man. All you need is one moment like that in your life, and boom, you can get fucking famous writing books about it for the rest of your life and make money off of it. You know, this is your meal ticket, bro. You just caught the Smithsonian hiding giants. So yeah, you would have, most people would tell. Most people, you know, I can't imagine what obvious reason there would exist for you not to tell people and inform people that giants are a fucking thing if you knew that they were a fucking thing. I just don't know. So, you know, I still go with version number 1. Probably not real. I know, I'm sorry to say, this is, you know, cryptozoology day over here, and you're supposed to have an open mind, fuckhead. I'm supposed to be open-minded. What an asshole I am. But, you know, I gotta go with, I don't know about the giants. Maybe we'll leave this open for a conspiracy theory Thursday. We'll look into, I'll write it down. I'm just going to write it down right now. And one of these conspiracy theory Thursdays will hold open a fun day for some fun conspiracy theories. Giants. I'll put it right here. Giants. Okay, so I got it written down to have a conspiracy theory Thursday someday. One of these Thursdays, we'll talk about the cover-ups of giants. But, you know, for our cryptozoology day today, for the sake of it, it is entertaining to talk about. It is a thing, you know, to know about. If we're talking about cryptozoology and the study of hidden animals, this is going to be a possible contender, yeah. And then I threw up Quora here. Quora, somebody asked the same thing. You know, how credible is the legends of giants in Alaska? This person says credible, and then he gives a link to the newspaper clipping. Again, I went over why that's probably not credible. This person says it's a myth. It may have come from the fact that you can grow truly gigantic vegetables in Alaska, which I have no idea why in the world those two things people would mistake vegetables for people. But look at these fucking vegetables. I had to just show this. Look at that fucking pumpkin. That is one big ass pumpkin, and it's flat. I don't know what the deal is with that. That is a piece of lettuce, a leaf of lettuce, I guess. You know, look at these fucking radishes. They're the size of this bitch's hand. Unless this is the Erkenrot over here. This girl's like 3 foot tall. That's a big fucking radish, bro. Look at that cucumber. You ain't gonna see no OnlyFans girl with that cucumber anytime soon. I'm just saying. All right. What is that? A zucchini. Never mind. Zucchinis. Those are zucchinis. That's crazy. You know, and then I don't know what this guy is holding up right here. And a record-breaking giant vegetable. What kind of vegetable is that? What is that? I don't know. I still can't tell. I'm almost afraid to look at it. That's a piece of lettuce. Come on. That's ridiculous. That's got to be, feel like that has to be photoshopped. Yeah. That's just craziness. But let's see. Giants of legend in Alaska. Here is the one right here. Legends of giants in Alaska, like many folklore and mythological tales, often stem from indigenous cultures and their rich oral traditions. So this is one thing, is that way before anybody came around to write newspaper articles about giants, the myth of giants up in Alaska has existed. And it's existed in Inuit culture and other cultures up there, in native Alaskan tribes, right? So these stories vary among tribes and often serve important cultural, moral, or spiritual functions. Credibility and evidence. 1. Cultural context. Many Alaskan native cultures have legends involving giants or large beings, which may symbolize natural forces or embody cultural values. These stories are integral to their identity and worldviews. I don't know how that's evidence or credibility. It does lend to the credibility that there's so many different tribes that have this in their mythology, right? 2. Archaeological evidence. There is no credible scientific evidence to support the existence of actual giants in Alaska. Archaeological findings primarily consist of tools, artifacts, and skeletal remains of known species. Claims of giant human remains have often been debunked or attributed to misidentifications. Or stolen by the government. They didn't put that one in there. Number 3, folklore versus reality. While the stories of giants can be compelling and intriguing, they are generally considered myths or folklore. Well, we don't need you to tell us that. For modern interpretations, some enthusiasts and researchers have tried to connect these legends to possible ancient inhabitants or large prehistoric animals, but such theory, this guy literally said nothing. That he looked promising, and it turns out I was wrong. Giant human bones. Hoaxes, all of them, but religious people desperate to believe will cling to anything that might affirm their belief. Okay, we're going with the whole it's religious nut jobs thing. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure, Joe Rogan looked to be pretty intense on this, and as far as I'm aware, he's not even remotely religious. I think it's a little bit more than just religious people. Like, hey, I'm not a religious person, but at some point, oh, I see. Okay, these are people right here. I did not see the scale of this supposed giant right here. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you heard of something like that, it would be, you would definitely know. But yeah, no, I'm pretty positive, Mr. Steve McCarotcher, in your silly ass last name, that it's a lot more people than just religious people. I mean, I understand this like modern day thing where we need to blame everything, specifically on Christians, it seems like, but there's a lot of people who seem to believe in this. Doesn't mean it's correct. Like I said, I don't seem to be believing in this, but look at this beast of a guy. Is this Andre the Giant? The Great Khali is a professional wrestler in the U.S. He's 7 foot 1 inch tall. Yeah, I mean, sure, I can go with that. That's probably how big giants were back in the day. They're as big as giants are nowadays. But anyways, there were some interesting answers from Quora. The vegetable one got me. I had to just show you this giant fucking lettuce. I had to, because that's a big fucking lettuce. It's crazy. I don't even like lettuce, and I'm impressed by that. But we're going to move on, because generally, actually, my stream would be ending in 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, over. This would be the moment right here, exact, that I would probably end the stream at 2 hours. And maybe I got a little carried away with the mapping and the giants and the such and the things. But I do want to get through some of these other interesting. Oh, wasn't supposed to show you that. I fucked up. I done fucked up. But yeah, so I did want to go over some of these other ones. They're real quick though. We can get through this in 20 minutes tops, So we're going to move on nice and quick through the rest of this, because the rest of this there just isn't a lot of evidence for. It's just really interesting things that people have said. And this is Cryptozoology Day. We're meant to stay open-minded, yeah, and have some fun talking about it. So we're going to move to a different kind of giant, the northern giant. This one, it does have a bit of information on it. So the northern giant is reported to be a gargantuan-sized bear that roams the outskirts of Fairbanks, Alaska. Okay, Fairbanks. Where's Fairbanks? I've been to Fairbanks. I've been to Anchorage and Fairbanks. I think I might be lying to you. Depends on where it's at. Isn't it on the... Nope, I've never been to Fairbanks. Yeah, I lied to you. Never been to Fairbanks. But there's Fairbanks for you. I know I've been to Anchorage, and you know what? It's the one that was over here. Juneau? Is that it? Juneau, Alaska? There's a Juneau over here, yeah? Something like that? Maybe not. Maybe I'm making that up too. No, Juneau, it's right there. Okay, I've been there, and then Anchorage. No, I've been to Anchorage for sure. Where's that at? Okay, I'm going to have to check that out, because I might be lying on that. Anchorage, Alaska. Yeah, been to Anchorage. There it is. Okay. So, yeah, been to those two places in Alaska, but never been to Fairbanks. Fairbanks, where was it again? It was in this general. There it is right there. Fairbanks, Alaska. So, around the area of Fairbanks, there's supposedly a giant-ass bear. And I mean bigger than your average giant-ass bear, right? Take your giant-ass bear and make it more giant, and that's this giant of bear. So, this creature could possibly be an ancestor or an actual short-faced bear, but it could also be a giant-sized grizzly or a Kodiak brown bear, which are one of the biggest species of bear in the world that are only found in Alaska. So that's what I'm saying. This one could be legit, like not like as in it's a completely different animal that exists, but in the idea like this is just a giant-ass Kodiak, okay? Like, that's a big fucking bear right there, okay? I don't know if that's a world record, but look at the size of that fucking paw. Bro, that's like the size of your whole fucking head. That's like 2 of your heads, right? You would have to be one of those fat head people Joe Rogan was talking about for that to be the size of your head. That is gigantic. That doesn't even look real. That thing is terrifying. Look at its mouth. It could fit your whole fucking head in there. That's crazy. And I can't really tell. I mean, I suppose that looks big. It looks scary enough. I wouldn't fuck with it if it was alive, you know? So there's actually Kodiak bears get really big. And there's a possibility for this. Look. Okay. World record whitetail. Okay, let's just look at this, okay? Let's just go whitetail deer. Yes. Pictures. Here's a good size. This is a good size whitetail. Look at, we'll even give it here. Let's go with this guy. Yeah. Look at that. That's a sexy guy right there. If you took that out, I hunted my whole childhood in Wyoming. So if you're not a hunter, you don't like this sort of thing, you know, it is what it is. Different cultures. But you know, that's a sexy beast right there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I count 6? Am I high? 6. 6 and 5. 5 by 6. That's sexy. That's a sexy ass deer there, right? Look at that spread. Look at that rack on that big boy. Okay, now let's. Oh, I fucked up. Done fucked up. How do we get back? I can't. Retreat. Okay. And let's go. World record atypical whitetail. All right. Now let's look at some of these big boys. Okay. You thought that was a big boy. Okay. These are actual world records. Okay. And for the record, a lot of these world records exist on hunting ranches where these deer are allowed to grow and continuously grow without being the fear of being hunted until some really rich guy comes along, pays $20,000 and they allow him to shoot this deer and claim it as I went out and hunted that. Here's God, look at this. Jeez. It's incredible. So yeah, let's take a look at some of these guys. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. So here's your regular whitetail. Yeah. And then here's a link that went to something. I done fucked that up. That's okay. Moving on. Look at that. Compare that. That's two different worlds. That's like almost a completely different animal, it looks like. With all the drop tines, these are drop tines that drop down. Atypical is what they call that because its antlers grown very atypically. Look at that, though. Oh, that is so crazy. Look at that. That's perfectly fine. You would get that head mount if you shot that. Look at this. That is just such a crazy spread. That is so perfect. Look at that one. That's about half a fucking elk right there. That's insane. Look at this dude's face. This dude's creaming his pants right now. I mean, this dude is stoned. He's like, look at what I just fucking shot, Bob. That's an elk right there. That's got to be an atypical elk. I don't think that's a deer. There, but look at that. Okay? Look, the whole point I'm making here is you don't realize unless you look at world records compared to your average size, even deer, antelope, you know, you name it. We went over pigs in Alabama. Okay? In Alabama, the big-ass hogzillas that people shoot, and they might not be actual wild hogs out there in Alabama. A lot of times it sounds like they're more farm-grown hogs that are just fed and fed and fed and allowed to get big, and then again, some rich kid pays $15,000 and his dad lets him go and shoot it. But they get huge. I mean, they get the size of VW buses. Okay, I'm not fucking with you. Pigs, right, with mouths like this, right, beasts. White-tailed deer do the same thing when they're left the fuck alone. Bears can easily do the same thing when left to fuck alone. And Kodiak bears are already bigger than the average bear. Here's our Kodiak bear fact sheet. So, unique species of brown or grizzly. They live, you know, brown and grizzly. Exclusively on islands in the Kodiak archipelago. And have been isolated from other bears for about 12,000 years. Okay, and this is a real thing. This is known. This isn't like cryptozoology. Or, you know, if you've ever looked into hunting, if you were ever a hunting fanatic, as I have been in my life, you've definitely looked into Kodiak bears, because this is like the big boys of all, the mother of all bears, besides like polar bears, yeah. There's about 3,500 of them. Okay, so not a lot, but they're healthy and productive, yeah. Male bears are called boars. We're looking for can stand over 10 feet tall on hind legs, over 5 feet tall on four legs, weigh up to 1,500 pounds. Woo! Oldest one known was 34-year-old sow. Jesus. crazy, right? These things are beasts too. They are the biggest bear. If you look up the biggest bear, let's just look it up so you know I'm not lying to you, right? You know, good old Tony, he's a trustworthy kind of guy. The largest bear species. Kodiak bear. I told you. See, I told you. The subsequent species of brown bear is generally considered the largest living bear species. Yeah? Okay. So ignore this thing right here where it says that guy. It's the Kodiak bear. Kodiak bear is the biggest. Okay, AI said so. So which is the largest bear species? Say the polar bear is many sources say polar bear is a clear winner, but others say the Kodiak bear, and those others are correct. If you look into it, yeah, the world record polar bears versus world record Kodiak bears. It's Kodiak bear. Okay, so that's why you keep saying it over here. Kodiak bear. Okay, does that look like a grizzly? No, it's a Kodiak. It is very possible that one of these Kodiaks. Look at this. I had pulled this up. Massive Alaskan brown bear is new world record. See, look at that foot. It's the size of his head. You know, that is a big fucking bear. And that was taken with a bow in Alaska. That was one Alaskan. This was in 2018. 2018, this took place, right? So it's very possible that it is the northern giant is a very real cryptid. It is just a gigantic fucking Kodiak bear. They do have a video on it. I'm not going to get it because you have to purchase it. Alaskan Monsters, that TV show we talked about that went after Bigfoot, they have an episode on the northern giant where this guy over here, season 1, episode 4, and you can actually buy it on YouTube and watch it. I'm going to link this in the description below in case you want to. So go ahead and check it out. But yeah, Alaskan Monsters, episode 4, season 1 is all about the northern giant. And so I thought that was interesting. So there is some information on that one. That's not mysterious as the giants, you know, the species of giant people, right? Okay, so I was going to try to hold it. I can't. My bladder's too small. I need to pee. So I'm going to throw you over here. You just chill, and I'll be right back. All right. Testing. Okay, good. We're back. That was a quick pee. I just had to take it though. I've been holding it for the last like 20 minutes. Okay, we have a few quick ones that we're going to go into that were a part of that Alaskan shit. The TV show I just showed you guys that I just forgot the name of, the Alaskan whatever. They had a couple different episodes on a couple different things, cryptids that supposedly exist in Alaska. And we're going to go over a few of them. So the first one is Wahila. And for the record, almost all the ones I'm going to show you guys now, there's just very little information about them on the internet. But they are famous local cryptids in Alaska. So for the Alaskans out there, I just had to give them like an honorable mention. This is kind of where we are. We're kind of towards the edge of the stream. where we're just on the honorable mention side right here. So yeah, so first is the wahila. Similar to the Ontario white wolf and often considered to be the same animal, the wahila or saber wolf is a large wolf-like creature said to inhabit Alaska and the Northwest Territories. It is larger and more heavily built than normal wolves, with a wide head and proportionally larger feet, and with long, pure white fur. The animal's hind legs are said to be shorter than the front legs, and the tracks show widely spaced toes. Witnesses describe it as being about 3.5 feet to 4 feet at the shoulder. Wahilas are never seen in packs, so they are presumably solitary. Native legends describe the wahila as an evil spirit with supernatural powers and describe it as killing people and removing their heads. It has been theorized that the wahila is a prehistoric carnivore, of the Miocene. Interesting. A dire wolf, a large wolf of the Pleistocene era. Let me copy that. Okay, son, get the A in there. Do this again. 3 times a charm, we got it. Okay. Let's take a look at this. Images. Okay. All right. Ooh, look at that. It's kind of like a big marmot. Cat. Possibly a big cat. Possibly a bear fox thing. Interesting. That's kind of cool. That's entertaining to think. So some people think it could have been that, or a dire wolf, a prehistoric hyena, or a completely new species of canine. So there's a lot of different options, and these things didn't die out nearly as long ago as, say, like actual dinosaurs like the plesiosaur did, right? Yeah. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, that's a big boy. Fuck that. Okay, the wahila is native to the Nahanni or Headless Valley, as it is known for ripping people's heads off. It is mostly in the Native American legend, but it was cited by an American mechanic, Frank Graves, who described it as a wolf on steroids, most likely because of its build and size. In 2018, original eyewitness Graves identified the animal he saw as a Mackenzie timber wolf, a known gray wolf subspecies inhabiting Canada, in the documentary Interview with a Cryptid Hunter. So, there's not a lot on there. Alaskan monsters, that's it. Okay, I've got to remember that. But yeah, it is basically a big giant ass wolf, potentially a extinct wolf like the dire wolf or this thing here, or some sort of prehistoric hyena. I don't know, that one's a little far-fetched, but he's in the running. That one does seem, just being a larger wolf, again, just being a much bigger wolf or a subspecies of wolf is much more is very plausible comparative to, say, giant people, or what were some of the other ones that we went over? The Rot, right? This is a little more realistic, right? So moving on, we have the White Death. White Death, also known as the Alaskan tiger, is a large feline that inhabits the swampy areas outside Paxson, Alaska. Okay, where's Paxson? Where are you, Paxson? Paxson, Alaska. Over me. This is Paxson, ladies and gentlemen. Oop. Come out a little bit. Okay, so that little square right there. Native legend tells that this ferocious cat has been around for years. Also in legend, after every human it kills, a new stripe will appear on its back. Very few people nowadays have seen the creature because it prowls in very marshy terrain that is often difficult to travel through. Alaskan Monsters features an episode in Season 1 where they go after the cat. They attempt to use a tranquilizer dart trap, but the creature heads in a direction that is unwanted to the team. As the muddy terrain gets the better of the team, they decide they should end the hunt before someone gets severely injured. Here's a supposed trail cam image of this. That kind of looks like the amphi guy thingy jigger, right? Yeah. So there's a bear, and there's the amphicon jigger thingy, right? Take a look at that. Look at that. That looks pretty close. Oh, I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know about giant cats in Alaska. I don't think anybody's came out and said that that's possible a thing. But saber-toothed tiger. Well, there are creatures. Yeah. First thought this was saber-toothed cat. of some description, perhaps with a longer tail than some species. The trail cam image almost resembles a Siberian tiger, only without the stripes. So, yeah, anyways, that's a possibility. Like, I honestly, I could see it if these things were still around, just kind of hanging out like their ancestors were around, and they're getting mistook for wolves and cats. Because it kind of, even in the pictures, people seem to be very confused of whether this is a wolf, or a cat thing, That one looks way more cat-like, right? So, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. But that's another one, White Death. And then the stellar sea ape. We talked about this a little bit earlier, mentioned it. It was similar to the Tizaruk. And you can kind of see the similarity if you remember what that Tizaruk picture looked like. Has almost the exact same build as the stellar sea ape. I don't want to spend too much time on the stellar sea ape because I believe it's called the stellar sea ape because of the person who saw it. Yeah, Stellar described the animal as about 5 feet long with a head similar to that of a dog. It had large eyes, ears which were pointed and stood erect, and long whiskers. Its tail resembled that of a shark, but it had no forelimbs. Its body was covered with thick grayish hair, whilst its abdomen was a reddish-white in color. Stellar recalled that it resembled an animal illustrated by Conrad Gessner, which has been called Simia marina, Latin for sea ape. And basically, they call it the stellar sea ape, but even his description is like, you look at the picture, that's a seal. That's a fucking seal. And they even mentioned in one of the articles how the seals keep their arms tight to themselves so it doesn't look like they have arms. It's a seal. This dude just saw a seal and didn't know, but this was way back in, when did this happen? 1741, bro. People back in 1741, it's not like he had the internet to go look up what a fucking seal is. He never seen one, saw one for the first time, shit his pants, and which understandably so. And then, now we have the stellar sea ape. So that one to me was kind of like, what's this? Tablets? I don't need one. Okay. And then I did want to go over this. So that's the stellar sea ape. That's the thing. This one is kind of interesting. Giant cookie cutter sharks. The giant cookie cutter shark is a hypothetical giant species of cryptid cookie cutter shark posited to exist in the Arctic Ocean off Alaska and possibly Greenland. Although no sightings of such an animal have ever been reported, a colleague of shark specialist Eugenie, working near Alaska, once discovered a dead narwhal, which, when brought alongside the vessel, was found to have been injured. The vessel was found to have been injured with round bites, strongly resembling the distinctive bites of a cookie cutter shark, but a great deal larger. As the narwhal had been discovered at night and only examined come morning, it is unclear if it had been killed by the perpetrator of the bites or scavenged during the night. Ordinary cookie cutter sharks generally do not exceed 2 feet in length, and Clark later suggested that the bites could have been made by a hypothetical giant species. However, marine biologist Richard Martin has suggested that the perpetrator was more likely a Pacific sleeper shark, which is known to scavenge the carcasses of marine mammals. Martin points out that these similar circular injuries have been discovered on narwhals off Greenland, where photographer Fred Broomer observed the related Greenland shark to be responsible. It is not known how sleeper sharks might biomechanically produce a distinctive circular bite pattern. So this guy says, well, it's probably these things, but they don't make that kind of bite pattern. Hopefully there is not such a thing as giant cookie cutter sharks, because look at these motherfuckers. Look at that. Bro, nah, I'm good. I am good on that. That's a no for me, dog. Is that a real one or is that like a fake? Looks like a fake one. But yeah, look at those teeth. Look at them crazy ass little shits, dude. These things are small, but they are vicious, right? Taking out big ass chunks out of motherfuckers. Look at that. Look at the holes in this fish, this tuna fish. Oh. Look at them holes. They're just boop, right out of it. Look at this one. That is crazy. Man, those things are messed up, right? Don't mess with these little shits. They're small, mostly only get up to 2 feet in length, but they'll take a chunk out of anything, right? So imagine a big one of these things with those teeth. Oh, fuck that. That's some nightmare shit, right? I thought that the fucking sturgeon was scary. Dude, that's nightmare fuel right there. That makes big sturgeons look like pussies. Right. So that's the giant cookie cutter shark that could possibly exist in the Arctic Ocean. right? But all we really know is that, again, this is only all the information that's out there. All of these ones that we're talking about right here pretty much only exist because, I mean, well, there's not a lot of evidence. That's really all it is. It's interesting circumstances that led people to think this is a possibility, but there's just not a lot of information on it. And when it comes to these cookie cutter sharks, all they really have is a couple narwhal carcasses that have these really odd bite patterns, but we don't know what it is, which, for the record, does mean like there could be something out there. We just don't know. We haven't seen it yet, you know? When it comes to the ocean, we've explored so little of the ocean, yeah, and especially the Arctic Ocean, right? Who the fuck wants to go exploring that, anyways? You know. So that's the cookie cutter shark. Cookie cutter sharks, octonauts, small, can bite off blubber out of whales, yada yada yada. I think I accidentally popped this open. So this next one, though, this next one's my favorite. Out of all of the cryptids that we have discussed today in Alaska, a lot of cool ones. A lot of these last few that I've just really ran over real quick are actually some of the coolest and most believable, too. It's just unfortunate that they don't got a lot of information on them, right? The northern giant, the wahila, those could, very well just be larger species of something already exists or a subspecies of what already exists, right? Much more, not as crazy as the Iliama or the Tizaruk or the Irkenrod, but they are more believable, right? So this one, though, was still my favorite out of all of them. I introduce you to an ad. Bummer. I introduce you to the giant platypus. Yes, them cute little weird fuckers, the little Frankensteins of the natural world. Apparently somebody saw a giant one, a big one, okay? In Carl Schucker's book, Extraordinary Animals Revisited, we've talked about Carl Schucker on our last Wildlife Wednesday. There is a subsection entitled The Cryptic Case of the Colorado Platypus. In actuality, the largest part of those 2 pages is devoted to a story of a supposed sighting of a platypus off the coast of Alaska. Unfortunately, the investigation of the case is distracted by how the initial eyewitness labeled and linked what he saw with an exotic unknown animal's name. People associate seen cryptids with animals with the animal world they know or have seen on television. But of course, platypuses are Australian, freshwater, and usually no bigger than 20 inches long, not Alaskan, marine, and 6 feet in length. Oof, that's a big boy. So, yeah, okay, dude said he saw something that looked like a platypus, and then that story turns into a giant platypus. Nevertheless, the story has ended up in the platypus file after it first was shared on the Bigfoot email list. It then was posted on Chad Arment's cryptozoology e-list and finally found its way into Carl Schucker's chronicling of the encounter. My headline comes out of the overall question of it being called a platypus, not by the chroniclers, but by the eyewitness. Things like this happen in investigative, skeptical cryptozoology. Items get a tag on them and gather dust in a file cabinet. We brush them off once in a while and make inquiries about them again. New angles develop and new insights are seen. Therefore, below is the essence of how Rob Alley recorded the sighting first on the Bigfoot list. Several years ago, Mike F., a successful Ketchikan businessman, contractor, and retired fisherman, asked me whether I had ever studied or read anything about platypuses in North America, specifically whether I knew of any prehistoric giant forms. Later, he told me that as a young man 40 or so years ago, he had stood on a shore near Mountain Point, South Ketchikan, and spent a minute watching an animal in the water at very close range that simply resembled a giant platypus. We're going to have to look up, what is this? Near Mountain Point, south of Ketchikan. Okay, we're going to have to look up Ketchikan and Mountain Point. Ketchikan, right there. Oh, it's all the way down here. Does anybody see Mountain Point? Okay, so right around here is where we have giant platypuses, ladies and gentlemen. Right at the very little butt end of the Alaskan state. Right here. Right in this area. We got giant platypuses. Okay, so anyway, yeah, he was seeing it resemble giant platypus. He described the creature as dark, with a bill and feet like a platypus, only the overall size was 6 feet or possibly greater. He gave no mention of the tail if there was one. The sighting was in shallow water on a rocky shoreline, and the creature was close to the surface. This man is an experienced commercial fisherman and stated categorically that it was not a known species of seal. Ah, see, that's what most people would claim. It's probably a seal, bro. You know, like the Steller sea lion or sea thing. Sea monkey, was it? Sea ape. That's it. Okay. Once ocean temperature here doesn't vary much from 50 degrees. Okay. The investigators who interviewed eyewitness is J. Robert Alley, author of the 2003 book Rain Coast Sasquatch. Oh, we talked about that, right? So this is this guy's book. Yeah, it is logical that Alley would be told such a story considering the fact he is a lightning rod for cryptic sightings in Alaska. Well, apparently, yeah, he writes books on it. Ignore that the account is repeated at the end of Shooker's subsection in summary as if what is there is a different sighting. Overlook that a small mention of an alleged Colorado platypus incident leads off a paragraph and merges into the Alaskan case, and don't pay attention to Shooker's questions about where precisely did Mike F. sighting occur, even though the account clearly says where it happened. Shooker told me recently those are just clerical editing errors. Oh, the story contains the location of the Alaskan origins of the sighting. The city of Ketchikan is noted, and that's a coastal location in Alaska on a marine inlet that opens to the Gulf of Alaska. The specific location noted for the sighting, Mountain Point, is 6 miles south of Ketchikan, Alaska, and is today a well-known clear water snorkeling area off of Alaska. Ah, so there's a whole bunch of people in that area. A misidentified pinniped, sea elephant, which makes more sense than a platypus. Perhaps it is something simpler. No, says the eyewitness. Categorically, it was not a known species of seal. Does anyone have experience with an animal off the coast of Alaska that could have been confused with a 6-foot-long platypus? Cryptozoologist artist Rob Roy Menzies of Alaska emails me this. I would guess someone saw a sea lion with a halibut in its mouth. I have experienced catching halibut only to watch sea lions tear it up and swim off with it. Okay, so there's a sea lion with a halibut in its mouth. Maybe, could be. I don't like it though. I like the idea of a giant platypus. That thing's cute. It's adorable. You know, even at 6 foot long. I mean, I'll probably want to go up and pet it, but yeah, 6 foot long platypus. It's a thing. We're going with it. Moving on. So, I was going to use this moment to introduce you fine folks to the Thunderbird. I even included it or attempted to include it in my thumbnail. The AI that I used to make the thumbnails really could not grasp the concept of a Thunderbird and kept turning it into something more like a Thunder Duck. So I did figure it out and turned it into a Thunder Eagle on the thumbnail. So that's what the bird is on the thumbnail. It is a Thunderbird. I was going to take this opportunity to introduce you to the Thunderbird because the Thunderbird is a well-known cryptid. It's not as famous as like Bigfoot, but it once upon a time was. Bigfoot made it into the mainstream. Thunderbird didn't. Thunderbird is a very consistently spotted cryptid in many states. So I was going to bring this up for our first encounter with a Thunderbird up here in Alaska. The Travel Channel has it roaming the Alaskan skies. Yeah. So we were going to do that, but I'm not going to. And the reason I'm not going to is because I only got one person watching, and that's my cutie pie. And it's already an hour and 20 minute, 2 hours and 20 minute stream. I'm going to give it up right here. I'm going to go ahead and call it good for the day and then start cutting up these videos so I can throw them on YouTube, see if I get more hits on YouTube. But for now, I'm getting kind of hungry. I'm chilly. I'm like down in my basement. It's a little cold. My nips are showing, hard nips, and I want to smoke a cigarette. So I'm going to go do that. Anyways, in the meantime, so we're going to go ahead and leave the Thunderbird for another day. Yeah. Thunderbirds are going to pop up regularly, especially when we get into the Midwest. There seems to be a lot of Thunderbird sightings in that area. So you will see the Thunderbird again. Okay. And I will link that specific YouTube video from the Travel Channel will be in my description of my own YouTube video. So if you are interested in checking it out, you can go ahead and watch it yourself. Give them a like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And on that note, if you are still with me by the end of this YouTube video, thank you for watching. And I hope you had fun going over some famous Alaskan cryptids. I had fun talking with you guys. And if you did too, please leave me a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you are interested in seeing some more cryptozoology content, check out my Wildlife Wednesday playlist on my YouTube channel. There's already an Alabama cryptids video in that playlist. That's another good 2-hour video on all the famous cryptids in Alabama. And that was a very fun video to make. So go check that out. Next time we come here for a 50 States of Cryptids series, I'm warming up to it. I'm warming up to that. I think it's a good name. It will be Arizona. Will be the next state that we go exploring for cryptids. So that will be next month, and it's probably going to be on a Tuesday. We'll figure it out. You'll be notified. Things will happen. You will be there. My next cryptid video won't be until next month. That will be the next cryptid video, unfortunately. So make sure you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, go check out my Alabama cryptid video or my video on the Jabal Fofe, which is also on my YouTube channel. It's one of my first videos. Next Wednesday, I almost forgot what day we were talking about. Next Wednesday, where are we at? Wednesday. Here we go. Next Wednesday will be the 7 natural wonders of the world. So we're going to go through and talk about what the 7 wonders of the world actually are, because I've always heard about them. Everybody's always said the 7th wonders of the world, the 8th wonder of the world was King Kong. You know, what were the first 7? I don't know. Do you know? I didn't. So I looked it up, I found out, and I thought I'd share that information with you guys. And tomorrow will be our Conspiracy Theory Thursday. So if you like conspiracy theories, tune in tomorrow for conspiracy theories regarding the Titanic. That's right, the big boat that sunk, hit the iceberg, hit an ice cube in the ocean and sunk. So we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories involving that. I didn't even know there was conspiracy theories involving that. Turns out there's a fuck ton. So we're going to go through all of them and check them out. So that'll be tomorrow at 11 a.m. To anybody who watched the stream, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And you guys just have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. And I will see you tomorrow morning for Conspiracy Theory Thursdays. Peace.